Good afternoon. I now call to order the Tuesday, August 26, 2025, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Okay, we'll now do roll call.
Ramirez, present.
Janie, Ruddy, present.
Derek Barr's here.
Christy, Chong, present.
Furry, present.
LaShakia Moore.
Okay. So we will move on to board member liaison updates. Start with you, Ms. Ramirez.
All right, I have quite a few, so here we go. All right, so Matanzas High School, we had our first SAC meeting. Parents that aren't aware what that is, it's School Advisory Council. So they're responsible for decision-making. SAC will give parents and the community a voice in deciding how school improvement funds are spent. So for example, Title I schools receive funding, A-rated schools receive funding. So if parents are able to attend and be part of SAC, it is very beneficial. I want to acknowledge Mr. Reeder, Ms. Doyle, Ms. Novak, and Mr. Rinaldi. They held an excellent meeting. A couple wins from that meeting. Overall, academic-wise, Matanzas is doing fantastic from the scores. I'd like to highlight social studies. They were at 83%, so that overall with the national testing, their ESE was second highest in the county. And our career and technical education, so the CTE, it went from 63% to 71% pass rate, and we know that that's a huge goal across the district. So we'll be reviewing bylaws. Next meeting is September 10th, so mark your calendar. Belterre Elementary also hosted their SAC meeting and their PTO, parent-teacher organization. So as a reminder, PTO is for parents, community members, volunteers, strong community connection with parents, small businesses to support the schools. Miss Massetti and her team, Dr. Schaefer now, the PTO president, officially has her doctorate degree, and her team, Miss Gibson, Mr. Ruddy, and Mr. Ford did a great job. We reviewed our SIP, our school improvement plan. So for those that are wondering what SIP is, you'll hear that a lot. We reviewed it, we approved it, and something I'd like to say that I took back, they voted on a $500 scholarship for past Belterre Elementary students that are now seniors to go for the Ed Foundation scholarship, so I thought that was pretty neat. So the PTO is going to provide funding for that. Next meeting will be September 11th, so mark your calendars. PTO for Rimfire, I know it's not my liaison school, but I was able to attend. It was amazing. So they have Miss Ward, their new PTO president. I want to acknowledge the hard work in her team. did Miss Say and Mr. Lee. What I took back from that, they have FPC student government students volunteering, watching the kids. I brought 2 of my kids. They don't even go to that school, and they had the time of their life. They had pizza, snacks. They have many business sponsors, Arc Therapies, Harla, another company. They're donating things for their sensory room, which will be opening Thursday, August 28th. We have my next liaison, EPAC. So that meeting will be happening September 10th. A lot of stuff's going on that day, so not sure I'll be able to try to figure out how to do both, but that is our Exceptional Student Education Parent Advisory Council. So I urge any parents with ESE students to try to attend these meetings. It will be September 10th here at 6 p.m. in this building. They're going to be focusing on para-training and collaboration, family communication and transparency, and inclusion in school life. So those are some really great goals. Upcoming focus on youth coalition as well as the teen. So basically advocating for our youth, substance abuse, reducing that delinquency. So Ms. Massaro and Ms. Williams are leading that, and that is actually the 27th, so I think that's tomorrow. But it's online, virtual. And FSBA, so now I'm the official liaison, wanted to just let everyone know on September 18th and September 19th, school board members have the opportunity to attend the Policy Governance Forum and Bargaining 101. So I know some of us will be attending that. It will go towards if we're looking to get a certified board member designation, so 1 point for 1 hour and just more learning, and looking forward to that. September 17th is the opening for our national conference. So, all right, we've been busy, so I will let the next liaison updates go. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So off to a great start of the school year. I want to shout out Mr. Bosterdet's Link Crew at FPC, which is essentially a mentorship program or welcoming program for upperclassmen to support incoming freshmen. And that program is made possible by Ms. Frederd and Dave Halliday, the grad coach. And we've already received a lot of positive community sentiment about how that has made such an overwhelming difference in the start of their high school career as compared to, while great, previous children that they've had experience with, it just went much more smoothly. They felt more welcomed, so that's been wonderful. Buddy Taylor Middle School, Ms. Hanson is off to a great start in leading that and helming that school. Their SAC meeting is September 4th. Again, it's required as part of the SAC committee that there are community members and not just a panel of teachers from that school. So we do encourage that participation. Last year, we only had really 2 very active parents join, so there's a lot of room. Do not feel intimidated. That space is definitely for you. We want to hear from you. We want you to be involved. BTMS is also hosting some activities around Literacy Day for September 8th. We know that all schools, especially BTMS, has math fast testing on Thursday, I believe. So make sure your children are participating, taking that seriously. Again, it's progress monitoring, so it's not that anxiety-inducing one final test. It's the first of many to ensure that they grow throughout the year, but we should still take that seriously. While I'm not the liaison for Rimfire, I did attend an event this past week, which was amazing. Advent Health had sponsored a book vending machine and was able to secure a NASCAR race driver to come and read to the students at Rimfire one of the first books taken from the vending machine. And that vending machine is going to be used for their positive behavior systems program, where students can earn tokens to use in that vending machine. And it's very, very colorful, NASCAR themed, great lights, looks like an arcade game actually, placed in the cafeteria. And I was already hearing students asking how they might earn a token, which was really wonderful. And FTC, Flagler Technical College, was able to purchase an excavator for the heavy equipment program. And so we're excited to be able to ensure that our tools and resources, vehicles are up to date, be able to service the students who are interested in those programs. That's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you all for going to Rimfire and being a part of that. But that next day was at Rimfire as well. They were having teacher appreciation. The PTO was working, setting up the hydration station for all the teachers. It was a great opportunity for them to come in and kind of get them a nice drink that they had set up for them. But then also, Mr. Travis had, he had set up a meeting with a lot of the new parents that were coming in, just had information that Mr. Lee had a lot of the parents that were in there just to get information about the school year that wanted more information. So he was really communicating well with them about what was going on. So I really appreciate what he was doing. But the PTO had like 5 boxes of donuts that I just couldn't partake in but they were so good looking for sure. But it was a great time. And then this coming week on Thursday is our SAC meeting at 8 o'clock. So we look forward to participating in that. That same day that I was there, went over to Bunnell Elementary School, which is yours. But they were so busy testing and getting ready, so I just went in and said hello and got out. They were too busy. So they were just running around, really focused on what they needed to be doing, and of course it being the first week of school. Legislative liaison, we've got the brothers here is what I call them. I got one online and one out in the audience here. The Sarah brothers are here, but we are working through our legislative priorities. We will continue to have those discussions today, so I won't go into that, but I appreciate them being here today. And then just participating in a lot of different activities that are going around the district. We are in our first week, a couple of weeks of school. There's so many things that are going on. People trying to get settled, trying to get into a new norm. So I really appreciate what I've seen, the communication piece of making sure that we're communicating out to our families and parents and alike. And then for DJJ, I apologize, Mr. Finelli, I was out of town, did not make the DJJ meeting last week, but I think it was pretty short. So I don't have much to report out of that. And in our CGST meeting that we had our proclamation that was presented at our last board meeting on just bicycle and pedestrian safety. So we're still moving forward. We have a lot of stuff going on and really proud of the start of the new year, even with some of the bumps in the road that I know that we've had.
All right, Bunnell's PTO will be later today, about 4:15, so we're gonna try to get over there. For school health advisory, we gotta get together on scheduling for the upcoming year. Wadsworth, I know, has a new playground in the works. We've been waiting patiently for that, so I look forward to seeing that soon. They will have a PTO fundraiser with Sweet Melissa's ice cream on September 8th. Flagler. On the first day we got to go and see their space. Very nice to see that. I'm so glad that they have that. And it was just a great first day being able to get out there on campuses and see everybody. I know this first couple of weeks we're all getting messages and hey, this is going on, and touching base with parents and everything. But like you said, overall a great first couple weeks.
All right, great. Thanks for all the updates. All right, so now we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comments? Okay, great. So we'll now go to our, actually, I apologize, I jumped over the agenda. Are there any changes to today's agenda, Superintendent Moore?
Yes, I asked that we move 8.01, the transportation update, up to after public comment to allow for that team to be available for the dismissal process.
Okay, so since so what we'll do is need a motion to adopt this agenda as amended.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Byers,
Second.
second by Ms. Ruddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move forward with today's agenda. So let's bring 8.01, information only, transportation. Mr. Walker. Welcome, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Good afternoon, Board and Superintendent. So I'm just here to give a comprehensive overview of the direction that transportation is moving as far as transporting our students in a safe and timely manner, and the technology that we're using and how we're trying to improve our communications to our families and communities. So right now, our position controls, we were allocated for 74 drivers. We just achieved 4 more allocations to that, which will take us up to 78 allocations. We're also allocated for 31 bus aides. We currently have 30 full-time bus aides, and we have 4 van drivers. We currently have 2 sub-drivers and 12 substitute aides. So technology, we are continuing to use Easy Routing, which is our routing database used for student transportation and planning and communication platform. We have the ability to send real-time notifications that are customizable by bus load, by bus stop, by individual student, or mass communications for routed and enrolled students. These messages are sent via text message and or email. So the direction that transportation is going as far as routing, we're moving towards a standard routing scheme, which means that we're going to permanent designated stops. These stops will be fixed and remain consistent from year to year. The routing system will support the ability to add stops as needed, especially in response to new housing developments, addition to current housing developments. We're also moving toward a 3-tier route assignment, meaning that the same bus will accommodate elementary, high, and middle school. In that, we're trying to build relationships between the bus drivers and the families. If they have the same bus driver for the elementary students, the high school students, it's more efficient to build that relationship. It also helps to simplify navigation for substitute drivers. If they're going to the same location for high school, middle school, and elementary, that helps to redact any delays in student pickup and transporting. And it also provides better continuity for our families with children on multiple grade levels. And it also enhances student sibling support. If the parent is not there to pick up the kindergarten student or a student that may be in elementary, they have the older sibling that will be there to provide that accommodation. We're also doing monthly route audits at the end of the month. This will help us verify route accuracy. It will help us ensure that designated stops and schedules are being accommodated, to monitor student ridership and capacity levels when we need to balance out a load. It will also help us identify any safety concerns and operational inefficiencies. It helps us with on-time performance tracking, and one thing that we implemented this year, it was a problem that we encountered last year with kindergartners being dismissed from the bus without parental supervision. So we made these Ks, red Ks, that are magnetized that we stick over the seat of the kindergartner. So if a substitute is driving that bus, they know that that's a seat for kindergartners. We do not let them off unless they have parental supervision. And that is the direction that transportation is heading. We are continuing to improve our communications. We did meet with Ms. Board Member Ruddy in regards to that with IT, so we are working on some things as far as improving our communications. Any questions?
Yeah, I love the direction on some of these. You're definitely looking at operational efficiency, but what parents see, right, is the bus here? And if not, do I know why the bus is not here? So I really appreciate Mr. Walker, Mr. Deasing, and Ms. Phillips, who sat down and we did some brainstorming in terms of what could we do right now to improve that communication and what can we do long term. And essentially, You know, Mr. Walker was very open and had some great ideas, and Mr. Deasing's department was also very supportive. And so one of the things that I've seen already come to fruition is, while we would love to give personalized messages directly to everybody's phone about their student's bus, there are some inefficiencies in how two of the software systems are working and coordinating together. And the long-term vision is to correct that, but the short-term solution is to provide a bus status page, which I was surprised that Ms. Phillips has already made magically appear, and is working in tandem not to be an additional reporting mechanism for you, but is also a tool that you use to communicate to your bus drivers. And so if we are able to then send one message to all families and have that one central location where the status of every bus is updated in real time, that will serve as the temporary communication gap fill while we evaluate under the scenario analysis that Mr. Deasing department is going to work with you on, how we can get a more elegant system evolved later. So I really appreciate everybody being very open, and that's the kind of progress you can make when you come with problem-solving ideas and not to just tear each other apart. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd like to add in, I appreciate your team as well. So we're in week 3 of school, and you know, it's a challenge for every department, you know, kids, parents, teachers, but I do appreciate you meeting up and listening, because Ms. Moore said before school started, we don't know what we don't know, right? So if a parent or community member or a board member or staff has an idea, I appreciate that it's thought about, like, can this work, can it not work? I've already have seen positive things, like the kindergarten, that right there, that's, it seems little, but it's major. So thank you for thinking of that, and it's something you just don't think about. So I appreciate it. And we still have a lot to do, but we're doing things. I have only seen positive, so thank you. And to the parents, thank you for, you know, bringing any concerns or questions to us, because when you bring it to us and we have meetings, things can get done. It won't be done overnight, but since week 1, I've seen things positive, 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 and then, okay, what's happening with this? And okay, we're working on it. So thank you and your team. I have seen great things, and I know we're going to see more, so I appreciate it.
I have a couple of questions, just to follow up, and I really do appreciate everything that the team has done to make things much better. A couple of things with the substitute drivers. With only 2 substitute drivers and 12 aides, how do you think that we're going to be able to handle some of the unexpected absences and maybe that high people being out and so forth like that? Do we feel like that's enough, or how are we going to address some of those issues?
That is not enough. The ideal would be to fill every full-time allocation and then have at least 10 to 12 substitute drivers. That's what we will continue to strive for. As we get applicants in, we pull the applicants. It's contingent upon whether we need to start from scratch with them. By scratch, and I know you know from the transportation world, whether they have a CLP or not, because we can't put them into training until they obtain that CLP. So in that, I'm looking for ways to, if someone comes with a Class E, is there a voluntary class that we can provide for them to help them get that CLP? So we are looking for ways to do that.
Are we communicating with our own, at FTC, with our commercial vehicle driver training school to be able to be that liaison piece for that, to be able to make that connection with some of the drivers that were there, or if you have someone that we could work with them to put them in that program?
We are not, but that is a good idea.
So we have our own driver training school here, so I think we need to try to how we coordinate that together to, you know, for our own benefit right now, not only for the public, but also for within the district.
Yes, because what's happening right now is transportation is doing much of the, not much, all of the training and for individuals who come without the proper licensure.
Right.
And so, that doesn't allow for them, because there are not just full-time trainers or full-time individuals that do that. You have individuals that are running double duty. For
Right.
instance, you have a driver that's, driving a route, then training, because we don't have just an allocated training. So one of the major things that we've done is really looking at the allocations that transportation has. And to Mr. Walker's defense, we've been talking a lot about our budget and making sure that we were within budget. And so he was trying his best to really stick with the allocations that he was given. However, he needed additional staffing, and we were able to do that. And that's going to alleviate some of the issues that we were having in the first couple weeks around, to your point, only having those 2 sub drivers. So we've done some things with his staffing in order to give him an opportunity to have truly enough drivers as well as some sub drivers as well, because the first couple days of school, first 2 weeks of school, everyone within the department was driving, and there were not any there wasn't the ability to backfill, and so that causes delay in communication, that causes delays in us being able to route efficiently and those things. So to his defense, he was trying to stay within that allocation. However, what we determined is that we needed to be above that allocation for him. I was talking to a board member today, and I was saying, this is something that is common in schools, right? Our classes right now, you may get a parent that comes home and says, well, my kid says they have this many students in their class, because we're waiting after the 10-day count, we make the adjustment, add additional staff, all of those things. It's one thing for that to happen in a school. It's another thing to happen when you're trying to transport students across. And so, that is something that we as leadership, we own that piece of it, that I think his current staffing that he now has is going to help him to be definitely more efficient, and then begin to pull and build up his sub drivers.
I also want to comment and shout out how really dedicated our entire Flagler Public Schools community is to making every aspect of the student's day a positive one, and that includes Brandon Seminara and Mr. Martin Evans, whose jobs are not bus drivers, but have actually completed the CDL certification and are acting as substitute bus drivers. And you have 2 additional team members, right, who are currently going through that same program. It's easy to say, hey, that's not our job, but it's also a creative way where if some folks want to earn some extra money and be able to fill in for substitutes, that availability is there. So I commend the team for
and I'm glad that you mentioned those 2 individuals, because them doing that allows for, right now, Mr. Walker, we want to get him back because he's running dispatch, right? We have others that are going over and assisting as we feel those necessary positions. And so we do appreciate them being willing to say, we know if our students are have a good start and a good end to their day, it helps the organization as a whole. So we do appreciate those 2 individuals for stepping up and being willing to help.
I do have a couple of more just comments and a couple of questions that I think we talked about the 3-tier alignment earlier, for being flexible and so forth. Do you think that that's different in some of our rural areas? Is that going to be?
It is.
How does it affect the West?
It is a lot different in the rural areas. It's more common for us to do it centralized in the city of Palm Coast.
Right.
For the more rural areas, it may be a 2-tier. They may have the same driver for middle school and elementary because they won't be able to accommodate a high school. But definitely within Palm Coast, that's the direction that we're heading.
Okay, perfect. And then the other couple of questions I have, and I won't hold up all the time here, but because it's just really to kind of focus. I know a lot of these things are probably already being done, but I want to highlight them. Last year we had an issue over on Whiteview and not being a safe stop and so forth. We corrected that. And sometimes the routing software and stuff may not necessarily say, hey, this is, not a great place and so forth. So being able to put those eyes on that particular stop in that location is going to be key, I think, to ensure that we do not have to go back out there and change that stop. So are we doing that? I would assume that we are making sure
Yes.
that stop is a safe stop, even though it's
Yes.
not routed. The route may say it is, but is it?
It isn't, yes. That's part of the monthly route audits.
Perfect.
So,
And families and our community members typically email us if they feel like there is a issue with a stop. And Mr. Walker or one of the supervisors will go out and assess that stop. But parents also can complete the form, the transportation communication form. If they go onto that form, they can indicate that their stop is what they consider a hazardous stop, or there's a concern with the stop. That goes in and to the supervisors and to Mr. Walker, and then they can go out and they will go out and assess that stop as well. So there's a way for families to continuously do it in the event that there is something that is not identified in the monthly audit. But as they go out monthly to assess these stops as well, they'll know then about construction that's happening and different other plans that's happening within the city. We also get communication mainly from the city of Palm Coast. They are often sending us information about different road closures, or if a community member has reached out to them directly. So those are the forms. Community members, they typically email us or email you, email the city. They get that information over to us. But our parents, they go onto the communication form. Some of them email us, but they go into the communication form. They put the information, their concern, and then that concern is addressed that way.
All right, I have two more and I'm going to be done. I promise. So sometimes I would like for us to maybe look, if it's not already being done, for what the bus drivers can expect when it comes to law enforcement responding to them if they happen to be on the side of the road. Whether they're waiting on law enforcement, and when they get there, whether it's a crash or whether it's a disruptive student or a parent, whatever the issues may happen to be, and be really kind of what they need to do while they're waiting. Go through different scenarios to ensure that the bus drivers actually understand what they need to do, and working with the sheriff's office and our SROs on that particular front if we can.
So that was something that myself, Mr. Toussaint Robeson, and Dave Bosserdet worked on. So we built a SOP for those type situations. This summer, I had my supervisors create a binder with all of our SOPs. They are placed on every bus. So.
And then tomorrow, we're having a training. If we could just make sure that we address that at the training tomorrow, because a lot of the focus is around, of what we focus on is around what do you do with the students? How do you address the parents? But making sure that they understand like what their expectation is for their engagement with law enforcement. We can actually make sure that that is addressed tomorrow during the training tomorrow. And unfortunately or fortunate, we've had some drivers already to have that to be a need this year with what do you do when a parent is on. A parent arrives at a stop. We cannot stress enough to our parents, do not enter our bus. If they enter our bus, we will trespass them. Like, you cannot enter our bus. If there is an issue, you do not take it up with the driver. Please call transportation, call one of the board members, call me, any of those things, but do not enter our bus. And so our drivers are very much trained with, if there is an emergency, to make sure that door remains closed until we always dispatch somebody out to assist, because even on the side of the road, we have to make sure we have a process that we are following when it comes to releasing students to families as well. And so those families have to show up, they have to have their ID, they have to be on Skyward. And those are the parts that really frustrate the family sometimes, like, the bus is pulled over because we're waiting on law enforcement or EMS or whatever the issue is. Parents show up at wherever the bus is because they're tracking they're tracking their kid, and they show up and they want their student off of the bus, and we often have to tell them, you have to wait until we can get some assistance out there for the driver. Also, waiting until we have EMS or law enforcement or whatever. So we focus more on that side, but making sure they understand what the interaction needs to look like directly with law enforcement. We'll make sure we highlight that as well.
Thank you for doing that. I just wanted you to highlight that as well, knowing that you had done that. And then the last thing is knowing that pay for our bus drivers is always going to be an issue. As we continue to compete with Volusia, Flagler, and other surrounding counties to ensure that we have the best candidates that are working for us is what we need to be looking for. And so as we move into the next legislative session and making that really part of our stance again through the rural renaissance, I don't know if it'll be called that or not this coming year, but making sure that we're really fighting for that, for the transportation piece, that we're getting every dollar that we can to come back to Flagler, for example, because we have got to make sure that we are competitive and drivers want to come here. And I know the other counties want that too, but I'm not worried about them, to be honest with you. I'm worried about what we're doing to make sure that our students are taken care of and that we have the best possible candidates. So I know that will be a fight that we're going to have to continue to fight this year, that we did last year, and I'm hoping that will be more successful as we move forward. So thank you for the questions and listening and hearing me out.
You're welcome.
Can I just add one more? I know we talked, but just for the community that has reached out, so a lot of parents had questions about ESE training with bus aides and bus drivers, so I just want them all to know that are listening or here that we met last week, with HR, ESE, transportation. It was a fantastic meeting, and obviously, so things are in the works of everything just getting better, but I do want parents to know that, Dr. Holliday, which I don't see her in here, but she has consistently done the past 2 years, she incorporated ESE training in some type of way with, the in-service. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that in the future. And then also just to understand with the pay, other counties may have a millage, some type of differences with taxes and things like that. So I want community members to know that potentially could be a big reason why they may be getting paid slightly more than our county. But thank you again for meeting, and I look forward to the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Okay, so now we'll move on to academic services, 6.01, student safety and bullying prevention, and that is Mr. Glasgow and Mr. Finelli. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Board. Good afternoon, Superintendent Moore. At the request of Board Member Ruddy, I believe it was last time, just having an open conversation about bullying and where we are as a district regarding our processes and procedures. So we prepared a presentation to present, and it's not up for vote or anything like that. It's just purely for informational purposes. We go to the beginning. So what we want to do is start off with the definition of which we operate off of within our school district regarding bullying. And what that is that bullying includes cyberbullying and means systematically and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students, and may involve teasing, social exclusion, threat, intimidation, stalking, physical violence, theft, sexual, religious, or racial harassment, public or private humiliation, or destruction of property. The state statute also goes on to define cyberbullying. I won't read all of it, but it is there as far as being very specific in what bullying may look like through the use of technology. And then we also operate off of the definition of harassment. So within our processes within the school, we make sure that we just don't start off with the definition of bullying. We start off with definition of bullying and harassment, and we start at that level of evidence and questioning, and we work our way down through that. So it may not be bullying or harassment. It may be a violation of student code of conduct, one of our other definitions, or it may not be a violation at all, but we will still take a look at interventions and supports for students. Why both terms? I don't want to say they're synonymous, but they often look similar, whether it's name calling, threats, or exclusion. And then we want to be making sure that we consider both terms throughout to make sure that our investigative processes are similar along the way, and to make sure that no students fall through the crack along our process. Going into reporting instances of bullying, Flagler Schools does a phenomenal job of putting out ways in which our families and students can report bullying. One of the major ways is through our school and district landing pages. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So it's on the very front portion. It's report bullying. It's also listed on each individual one of our schools. Through there, parents can report on that form. That form comes to me, and then I farm it out to the schools. I ask them to look into it. They look into it, and then they give me a response when it's been addressed. Anytime bullying is reported, we have an initial screening portion that goes through, which is our bullying screeners. So we also get that to be able to help quantify the amount that's coming in, and then what were the outcomes of the investigations. We also have See Something, Say Something initiative through Fortify Florida. So this is a way that our families can report not only to the school system, but also include law enforcement. We encourage our families that if anything goes on off of our campuses, to make sure that we also include law enforcement in that. And it may not need to have a 911 response, but they can definitely contact the non-emergency line and at least have it documented through law enforcement that these things are occurring. And then that actually helps us within the school system if we do have that documentation, that we'll pair up with law enforcement and work to best support the student. We encourage all of our students and families to know that everyone within Flagler Schools is someone that they can report bullying to. We have our school-based teams. You can contact the Student Services Department, myself directly, our teachers, bus drivers, food service, custodial, anyone within our school board and school employee can have bullying reported to them, and then they are all trained on the next steps as far as who to go to, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next. We also have a parent support form, so if parents are wondering what is the process like, what can they expect during the investigation, what can they expect after the investigation, we have a one-pager that we can provide to our family, and it outlines exactly what our school board policy is. It does need to be updated once Neola is approved. Once it is for that, we'll get that updated, but it's definition of what is bullying, and then what to expect during the investigation, and then what happens after the investigation. We also have our student code of conduct. The board just recently approved the most recent edition of it. So both elementary and secondary versions of it include approximately 10 pages of information in there, and it's everything from definitions to investigation processes to potential outcomes in helping support students. What happens next? So after a report occurs, the next steps is that we will always do a bullying screener that satisfies the state requirement of initial reporting. And it's a quick tool for our teams to be able to use to capture the information to determine whether it needs to go to in full investigation or just document supports and interventions that put into place. If the initial report doesn't support a full investigation, it could be a referral for one or more or one or all of the students to receive additional supports. We provide Hope Scholarship to the alleged victim, and then possible code of conduct violations more or other than bullying and harassment. All the families of both the alleged perpetrator and the alleged victim are notified of the initial report, and then if the initial report does require investigation, we go into the next portion about our investigative procedures. And what that looks like is that all students are interviewed separately. It's never done together. We encourage the students and the families to provide us with any information that would help either substantiate or support that their student wasn't a part of bullying in it, and that would include written statements, photos, videos, or other witness input. We have a standardized investigation checklist that we train our teams on to go through each part of the process, making sure that it's documented about times and dates and who was contacted, and then the outcomes of those investigations. After it, we have to notify all parties in writing. We document accordingly, so if it's substantiated bullying, we use the state reporting code of BUL or for bullying, and then unsubstantiated, which is UBL or UHR if it's harassment. And then I'll talk more about it, but we also now include unknown perpetrator reporting in that. And what that does is that it uses the same incident number if it is a violation of code of conduct. We refer all involved for counseling. Regardless if it's alleged victim or alleged perpetrator, both students are referred for school-based counseling, and then we submit the completed checklist and the reports to student services, and then we apply the discipline matrix as it's needed, and then we encourage all of our schools to retain a copy of the investigation in its entirety. The next slide, it's just giving an outline of what both the checklist and what the report form looks like. The report form is that not the initial, but once a bullying screener is done, it's determined that an investigation needs to be completed. The report form is completed. I received that within 24 hours. We notified the families of the next steps of that we're going to be investigating it. And then at the end, once all is said and done with it, and the outcome is recorded, that we complete the checklist and submit that to our office as well. What happens after the investigation? So if it's unsubstantiated and we have an alleged victim, we could possibly have a facilitated conversation between all the students involved, and again, that's if it's appropriate. We could take a look at schedule or classroom adjustments. We could do check-ins with a counselor or school social worker, and we could also provide a referral to behavior or academic MTSS Tier 2 supports, and then also take a look at developing a mental health support plan for a student. If you're an alleged perpetrator, it would possibly include a behavior contract or agreement, and that's signed by the student, the parent, and administrator. We want to make sure that we're including our parents as part of the process, not doing the process to them, and getting their input through that as well. Referral to behavioral supports through MTSS, social skills training, increased monitoring and check-ins for alleged perpetrators, and then again, parent collaboration plans. If it is substantiated, it is a notification to the family. There is state-level assessor coding that's associated with it. The consequences include out-of-school suspension at a minimum. If it's ongoing, severe, persistent cases, we can consider alternative placement up and through expulsion, and then also work with our law enforcement side as well to see if the behaviors that we're witnessing meets a criminal threshold to get law enforcement involved. Interventions that are put into place, of course, MTSS referrals, behavior intervention plans, counseling or skills groups, and then reentry and accountability plans. So even if a student's out on out-of-school suspension or an extended suspension, while we're bringing them back, we want to make sure that we have an open and honest conversation with the student and our expectations of how we want them to be within our schools, and then also include the family in on that so they're aware of it as well. Reporting bullying outcomes. So the way that we do this is through Skyward, our student information system that connects directly to the state. What we've implemented here recently is also doing a unknown perpetrator entry. So we're doing the bullying screener alone, and now we've reached out to other NEFAC districts and found out that the way that they record it and report it to the state is through unknown perpetrator. And what that does is it generates an incident number so we can track it and report to the state that it was reported but was unfounded. It's not associated with a particular student, so therefore if a student is alleged to have been a bully and it was found to not be true, then it's unsubstantiated and it doesn't follow them and track on their official record. It does still report to the state, and then any violation of code of conduct, it can be used in conjunction with that incident number, so that way we can track the outcome. So if someone reports bullying, we find that it doesn't meet the definition of bullying or harassment, but it does meet a violation of code of conduct, hypothetically misconduct 2. We can see that bullying reporting happened, we investigated, didn't meet the definition, it did meet the definition of misconduct, so that was the referral, and then we can take a look at the discipline outcomes that would be associated with misconduct too.
And I know that we're holding questions, but I want to just make a point to this. This relates to, like, when we hear in the community individuals saying, well, why is our number not larger for the unsubstantiated or substantiated? This is the change that he is referencing. We'll see some of those numbers and what that will play out in actual our Skyward data. So that's where that connection goes to, is when we hear that in the community from individuals saying, well, you're not investigating it because what's reported through the state looked differently. And so I just wanted to add that. I know that you're going to talk a little bit more about it once you get to the data.
Yes, ma'am. So if the instance is substantiated, it looks a little bit different. It will be under the perpetrator Skyward profile, and it is a discipline incident. So if it's found to be bullying, it will be attached to that specific student and will carry along with them. Generally, what that means is for a student who does receive a assessor level referral, that anytime that discipline is requested from a college or technical school or a job, that is what we're mandatory reporting as far as assessor level events. So it does come with consequences outside of the school district. They just may not incur them now while they're in school. It may occur later on. And then, of course, just the level of job or opportunity that they're seeking would depend on how far the potential employer or school may look back in the student's history. So things that occur in middle school could affect a student later on in life, or maybe not, but the reporting is there, and it can be found if employers or schools reach out about it. It's also
For assessor.
For assessor level, yes, ma'am. Changes of practice, and I've already alluded to this a little bit. Prior to, we just relied solely just on the bullying screener, and then that was a way of just, what was the outcome? Was it bullying? Was it not? And then was it a violation of code of conduct? Was it not? And then what interventions and supports were put into place? Now we put it with unknown perpetrators, so we do both processes, so that way we can track specific outcomes. And again, this does not attach to a specific student if it's unsubstantiated. Training, just a little bit of focus on how our teams are supported throughout the year. We always start annually with our school environment safety incident reporting, also known as SESR. It's an annual training, and that includes bullying and harassment specifically. We also have our annual student services training, including the bullying investigative processes to start off the school year. This includes our student services assistant principals, our deans, behavior interventionists, school counselors, and social workers. We also train quarterly with our deans in just reviewing our practices and procedures with bullying and investigations. At faculty and staff meetings, our deans are encouraged to get FaceTime with our teams and just let them know about investigative processes and how to report at their school areas. Also, schools can request support as well from my position or Mr. Finelli's position regarding supporting schools through investigations or initial reports. I know we had one even before stepping in here today. I've already reached out, addressed, hey, I'll give you a call. We'll do all the fact finding, and we'll provide as much information as we can or support to the school as we can. And then the last piece is just our screener outcomes from the 24-25 school year. So, and I didn't want to change it out. We hadn't reset it from the year previous. So we're currently, to include this school year, we're at 135 responses. And so we're actually, for last year, we're approximately at 120 overall responses. So we will get this cleared out, but I didn't want to post one and then change it up last second. Out of that, so out of the 135 responses, approximately 44% of them were at the time the information provided does not result in the need for further investigation, and it does not violate student code of conduct. If we go up from there, 31% at this time the information provided does not require full bullying. However, it does violate the code of conduct. So now with unknown perpetrator being added in there, we can actually track when that is selected. We can say, okay, well, what did it actually lead to at the end? And then from there, it's at this time the information provided does not require full investigation. However, it does meet the threshold for harassment, so we can have that differentiation between bullying and harassment, and then the blue being at 13% that they do involve a full investigation to come out. By school, these are the breakdowns for each of the schools and who's reporting.
Reporting bullying?
Just receive the reports and then entered in a bullying screener for that.
I don't see Matanzas on it.
So what I will say about that is that, and I can go to, I don't know, it doesn't want to update. They are on there. It's a small slice. It's on the 1 of 2 drop down.
So I see like there's kind of this maybe more maroon red, that skinny one. Is that what you're saying?
It could be that one, ma'am. I would.
So you're saying they have less bullying reports than Belterre, and even though their feeder school, Indian Trails, is at 23% the largest, it's that small?
Possibly.
Based on the data, yes.
Yes.
To answer, yes, based on the data, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And who fills this out?
So this is filled out by the schools based on what's reported to the school.
So primarily it would be the dean of that school, or is it the
So
requirement of the assistant principal?
No, each school kind of does it different, and then it also depends on just the day. Primarily it is deans and school counselors that fill it out, but we do have administrators that do fill in and fill it out as well.
Can we take a look and ensure that Matanzas is identified an individual that is supposed to be filling this out, because that right? Seems trust but verify.
Yes.
We can get to that.
Absolutely. Moving on, we do ask if the behavior is repeated or not. So out of the responses that were gained, 61 instances was 1 or 2 times. 51% of them is 3 or more times, and then out of all of them, 5 times it was none of the above. Going into that, is there a real or perceived imbalance of power for the alleged victim? And here it says 32% approximately is a yes, whereas 50% or 57% is a no, and then the teams identified as 11% as being neither.
I don't understand that.
As in,
Not, so if they say, is there an imbalance of power, they say no. So it was one question supposed to be yes, but one of the two? Because how could it be neither or no? Aren't those the same responses?
so what we do is and it's really just the structure of the form itself, and not trying to make it a long process for our teams. Again, the bullying screener should just be a quick reference to it. Anytime a team feels like that the information is gained, that it would require more, then that's our process, is that we don't have to do the screener initially. We can include it
So
in
you're
and go
saying
right
those are
to a full.
non-responses?
Those are not, so it just may not even be, they may say
You did
bullying, but
not, right,
the
you're not
information-
requiring every field to be filled in?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Malicious intent, and it's the same thing here, Ms. Ruddy, as well. Is it one, or is it all, or is it none of the above? Because the report that was given doesn't even take in, like, it wasn't mean, rude, or malicious based on the information that was gained initially.
But none of the above would require a response, whereas the other one, a non-response, is a different situation. So you're saying all the other questions people did respond to, but that other one, they did leave some blank?
It's possible, it just depends on what information that they have, what's
Okay.
given. Moving forward, I think that's it. That's the last slide. I didn't put in a question slide.
Yeah, so I think that this is, this shows our dedication to fulfill and go beyond the requirements of the Florida statute, and that we know that mental health and the ability to feel safe in the classroom is paramount. I do have a question around essentially the triggering process of the investigation, right? Where there's an initial report where there's a fork in the road. Does this support a full investigation? Is this essentially bullying or harassment or not? What I'm wondering is how is that determined, right? And if it is up to, let's say, the dean, are there spot checks, let's say, from your particular level to say, because I'm sure not every report comes up to you, or maybe I'm wrong. Does
No, not every
okay.
report.
So is there a spot check system in place to say, hey, are our team members trained enough in order to recognize it so that it's not held back at that first particular incident? Because, I'm thinking of, on here, there was a certain percentage that related to it qualified as an imbalance of power, which was previously reported as the biggest issue of these bullying items not being able to progress. But it looks like that's 33%, while the number of bullying full investigations that made it through that level were 13. So if that was the blocker, there must be other blockers that are maybe larger than the imbalance of power. So I would just wonder if we could take a look at that, because if that's where the majority of the parents' concerns are, and it may be that it's spot on, right? But it's a quality assurance control, right? You have a systems checklist, but that checklist doesn't necessarily help somebody. It's not a taxonomic key of identifying bullying or harassment. And I'm imagining we have deans are typically a first introduction to the administrative level at our schools, and they need maybe some additional training or support. It's a way for us to monitor that. I think that might be helpful.
I have. You still
May I provide a short response?
Please.
So, Ms. Ruddy, I totally agree, and I think that's a great question that's being proposed. We do, in our trainings now, we do scenario-based, and we do try to take in consideration both elementary and secondary situations. The older students are, the bigger they are, the bigger the problems as compared to the younger students. So one of the things that we've done this year is we've split our meetings and trainings up into elementary versus secondary. So that'll be one of the changes, and then our scenarios and the things that we can do can be more targeted directly to those deans and those teams.
That's great. That's awesome. When you state that you notify all families in writing, we obviously have to take certain care because of FERPA, but what is included? Because when I've had some conversations, essentially, some of the responses, I don't even know what happened. All I was offered was to change schools. So what is typically required in that communication? For example, if it does not move forward, right, that's an example of a HOPE scholarship option. Are they provided the reasoning? Are they introduced to a little bit of that, hey, here's what classifies as bullying, here's what classifies as harassment, here's unsubstantiated, here's substantiated, here's what we found evidence for, here's what we didn't, and this is why it cannot proceed? Does it go into that depth?
So that conversation is held with the families, and then in writing, it would just be the overall outcome, and then next steps. If there's interventions and supports put in place, it's there. If there's discipline consequences, it's listed. If it's any more information than that, to your point, HIPAA, FERPA, we can't be putting information into our emails like that, but we encourage any of our families that if they have more questions, it's not just reporting bullying, but if they want follow-up, they're more than welcome to, contact their school-based teams or even reach out to the Student Services Department.
Do you feel the school-based teams are understanding what they can and cannot communicate? Because if we're hearing from some of the community members, their concern is that they don't really know why we were just told to change schools.
I think one of the main things that we get from parents who are upset with the findings is we are not saying to them directly what the consequence is that the other student received. So let's say it is bullying or it's some other violation. Families want to know, one, what the specific consequence is, and let's say they find out, and because we don't give that information, we just say that we will address it appropriately and follow the matrix or whatever. But if they find out, somebody told somebody this is what it is, the second thing that parents are concerned about is if they do not believe that that consequence is sufficient in their eyes as to what the student should receive. Those are the major things that we get from families related to bullying is they know that it's substantiated or unsubstantiated. To your point with the HOPE scholarship, we can definitely go back to make sure that our teams are explaining the HOPE scholarship better, because I think that is definitely an area we can grow. But when it reaches my level, which is often very quickly that they'll just email me or call or whatever the case is when they receive that letter, oftentimes, though we're required to provide it to them, they receive that as this is us saying, if you're not happy with what we're doing, go somewhere else. And that is not our place at all. What we're saying is, if you're saying that your child was bullied, be it they were or they want, we must provide you with this information. And I think that is an area that we can grow based on the feedback that I receive from families who often feel like, they didn't tell me what happened to the kid. I know the kid got a consequence. It wasn't good enough, but I was given this letter and said, too bad, so sad, take your kid somewhere else. And that's how the parent receives it, because I believe that my child has been wronged, and now you're telling me my kid can move classes if it was unsubstantiated. My kid can move classes. Well, does my kid have to move classes? Why doesn't this kid move classes? Or why am I being given a letter saying that I can take my student even to a different school?
It's all about framing and positioning, because we're
Absolutely.
saying, while this didn't work, right, there's still some sort of distress to your child, and we're giving another alternative, so that you don't feel powerless and to stay in a situation, right?
And that is the point of the state, is they don't want a family to feel like you are forced to stay if you feel your child has been wrong. So we must provide that documentation. But when a parent is upset and they feel their child has been wrong, they're taking it as if we're saying, here, this gives you permission to go somewhere
Okay.
else.
In the investigation checklist, I see that there is a section where it says to consider ELL, race, disability. Why would that be taken into consideration on determining whether or not it's bullying?
So we want to make sure that we're following federal and state processes so more specifically to that, whether it's a Title VI or Title IX violation, to make sure that we're following our
I
processes.
see.
with
So
that.
if it was somebody of a disability, then essentially that may have additional reporting requirements.
Triggers federal
Gotcha.
law.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So it's not to consider, right, whether or not it can proceed.
Yes, if a student with a disability is the one that's being bullied or bullying, they still will be put in as the assessor for bullying, but it's to make sure that we're always thinking about what are the additional steps that we may need to take if
Yeah.
the victim is in some of these categories as well.
I have one other question, and I would really love to hear Mr. Bars from the, law enforcement aspect of it. When you have maybe a student, Sally comes forward, makes these claims, Jimmy comes forward and makes these claims, but yet individually they were not substantiated. Are we tracking the number? Is that this next level that you're alluding to, where it's tracking the number of not, the reporter is different? And so we're able to say, well, now maybe there's a pattern here. And can you tell me how easy is that for your school-based administration to see? Or is that a report or something they must dig into?
So we're able to pull that report using the unknown perpetrator portion.
Perfect.
The new school board policy 5610, it's very explicit in saying that it can not only be an individual, it can be a group of individuals, and that's not necessarily just students, it can be towards adults, staff,
Yep.
any group. So
Okay.
if Little Doug is always the one that is having his name brought up, but it's never found that Little Doug is doing these things, at a certain point, the team would be able to take in all the information and say, Little Doug has behaviors and he is bullying. It's not to individuals, but maybe it is to a group of people. So then we can move forward and still process, give the interventions and supports and consequences to Little Doug, even though it wasn't to an individual, but to a group.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this reporting, so we could really have an in-depth conversation. I like a lot of the progress. I think, just doing some of the spot checks, I'd be interested in hearing an update of that throughout the school year. And, when, to your point, Ms. Moore, when families are not happy about what the discipline has been or meted out, we have a very solid discipline matrix that not only upholds our, values as a school system, but also understands that these are children and they are going to make mistakes and need time and the ability to correct, but also keep the rest of the students safe and free from harm, both physical and mental. Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions, Chairman, if you don't mind. So it's just, you mentioned earlier about the reporting piece. It might be a little bit different compared from one school to the next school, or who may be doing it and so forth like that. I think that might be a little inconsistent with how we want to do that, I would think, and we need to kind of come up, I'm just suggesting, it just seems like you would want that consistency about who's responsible for what at each school, if that makes sense.
So to clarify to that point, it's
Yeah.
our primary contacts are our deans and school counselors.
Okay.
So a lot of times we do hear about allegations of bullying within the dean's office, just like our school counselors do, as far as when our students are experiencing mental health concerns and they're in there, they're crying, they're upset, they're saying, why are they doing this? This, then the school counselor then starts probing and asking, and then they're trained we're actually about to do that training with our school counselors tomorrow. So they have that training, and then the student services APs and admin also have that training. And when I say that they may be in and out, but so like for tomorrow, school counselors won't be on campus, they'll be training. So our admin will have to cover for them during that time. And then we have dean's meetings tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. In that transition time, something could occur where our administration has to step in.
And it depends on levels too. So when you think about elementary level, you may have, when you look at the back of the data, when we say inconsistent, not inconsistency, but different people, when you look at the elementary level, you may see more often an AP that is doing some of the reporting, versus like if you get to the secondary, you may see less of that a little bit because of the resources that we have within the school. So you would see a lot of that going through the dean's office, as a place or a hub to report those things. But it's those categories of people. So it wouldn't be, someone outside of those scopes. It would be a dean, a school counselor, it would be an administrator that will be doing that. What I heard to that though, is that, especially when we look at some of the data, one that jumped out and jumps out is Matanzas is to say we have these practices. If a parent says it is bullying, you should be reporting it in the system. Because I think that is another piece that you hear out in the community. Well, are they actually doing the screeners? Well, when you look at that data, it would suggest, are they? Because of how few it is. And so for me, our directive is if they say that it is this, you do the screener, because the screener will weed out if it is or if it isn't. But we have no way of saying that exactly, unless that one particular school really only had that many. However, it kind of suggests that maybe a different practice was in place, and so we can rectify that going forward for sure.
And I think just the other part is just making sure that we are on top, and I know that we will be, but just more of a statement more than anything, is that we are on top of repeat offenders and patterns that are out there. 1, 2, and 3 times you've got on this one slide. I mean, to me, that's just unacceptable. And so making sure that we're staying on top of that and addressing those as quick as possible, so it doesn't turn into the law enforcement issue where they're going to have to deal with it when it gets out of hand. So that's just more of a statement.
Yes, sir. To that point, we did, and the board did approve on several of our student code of conduct changes, and we are able to support our students more through the code of conduct now based on some language that was added.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
And bringing different processes together, because to your point, Mr. Bars, when you hear the multiple students, right? Those students, if we're seeing that student probably should be going through or we should have looked through the threat management process for that student, because those are concerning behaviors that we're seeing. And so it may not be that it's bullying over here, however, it may be something else, and making sure that we're following those systems all the way through.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I just have a couple questions. So one, if a student is getting bullied and their guardian parent is not the one to put it in, to log it, or the student themselves is not, but a teacher or staff, they feel that, are they allowed or able to go ahead and report that themselves? Or the student, on behalf of the student.
So if a teacher thinks that a student is being bullied, can a teacher report that to the dean's office and they
like
investigate?
in the report, like on the website?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anyone and everyone's encouraged to report. They can use the district website or Deportify Florida. It doesn't have to be a parent or guardian or
the
a student
it
that
could
does
be the
it.
teacher, they see it, they know it's happening, but they know it's not they know the parent is out of the
Sure.
picture, or the student is, not going to do it?
We've even had third party that they
Okay.
heard from someone who heard from someone.
Okay. So
And
that, yeah,
we've
no,
had
that's good to
instances
know.
like
Like, I didn't
that.
know if teachers, if they had a standard, allowed to do. So thank you for that. The unsubstantial reporting where it tracks them or it follows them through, is that new? So how new is that?
Unknown perpetrator.
Unknown
Uh,
perpetrator.
yeah,
So
and-
it's not a new process to our NEFAC district.
Like 10 years ago, if someone was a
Right.
bully and, it's not going to show up. So the reason I ask is that may be something, and maybe it's happening, but letting students know when they have their orientation, first week of school. And I know faculty and staff are talking about, we don't accept bullying. Like, this is not going to happen in our school. We know, this should not happen. Letting them know this will follow you potentially. If you want to go to college, you want to, have this, I think just as a secure blanket for them knowing, hey, I better, if you're good at home and, if you want to play the video game, you better not hit your brother, just them knowing that, because that's new. I mean, to me, I think that would be something good for students to know and maybe help them, like PBIS,
The impacts assessment.
And then, so thank you for that. I do want everyone to know too, so these are just 2 comments. So between the 5 school board members and then of course our superintendent, if parents or faculty or anybody, they don't feel, they feel like their student or their child's getting bullied, we don't do anything about it, I urge everyone, email the 5 of us, and I guarantee one of us will email you, call you, or meet you, especially like the team that we have now. So just reach out. And I'll give you, some data just today. Right before this meeting, I sent an email. As I'm on the elevator, this team right here, they're already on it. I literally hit the send button, and next thing I know. So if you have an issue, parents or kids, just email one of us. One of us will help you, because our time is different and we'll be able to respond. So thank you. And that's about it. Appreciate it.
Well, I just want to thank you for an excellent presentation. This slide deck I think this is going to be very helpful for the community as well. I think that this segment of this meeting could be a good one to pull out and isolate along with the slide deck with the members of the community. Ask about this, because this is something that comes up from time to time. This is a quick way to send them some information they can digest very quickly to understand the flow and process. So well done on that, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll move on to 6.02, strategic plan update. We have Ms. O'Brien and Mr. Reynolds.
Good afternoon, board. Furry, Ms. Moore. We have 2 things to update you on this afternoon. First, we're going to go through the school grade updates from this past school year, and then we'll switch over to our end of year strategic plan overview. So for school grades, our overview, you can see most of our schools were able to maintain their school grade this year. And we did have a couple of schools who did drop. We're addressing that. Going on, for the district grade, we did go up in ELA achievement, grade 3 ELA achievement, math achievement, social studies achievement, and graduation rate.
In science.
And science, yes. And we maintained our grade of B this year. We ended the year 2 points away from an A, and we'll talk about the escalation clause that actually brings us to 3 points away from an A for next year. For federal point of index, this is calculated as the same components as the school grade, but they isolate the specific population of different subgroups. There are several different subgroups that the state looks at. One is all students. Then we have students with disabilities, our economically disadvantaged students, which used to be called free and reduced lunch, our English language learners, and then there are several racial or ethnic identities. The ones that are bolded are ones that historically we have fallen under the 41% threshold in the past or currently, because that is the federal minimum, is that 41%. So for the identified subgroups for student with disabilities, at the end of last year, we had 9 schools who were below that 41% threshold. Or sorry, 2023 was 9. Last year was 8, and this year we are down to 6 schools below that 41% threshold. And then for all of the other identified subgroups that we've had some issues with historically, we now have 0 schools under that 41%. So students with disabilities is the only subgroup that we have schools below that 41%. Specific to students with disabilities, you can see by school over the last 3 years, their historic data. And so this past year, Belterre, Old Kings, Matanzas, and FPC were at or above that 41% threshold. Some other celebrations at the individual level for schools. At Bunnell, math achievement went up 13% and science achievement went up 10%. Belterre had an overall increase of 15 points. At Old Kings, their Black and African American subgroup was below that 41%, and they actually increased it by 28% in 1 year. At Rimfire, they had an overall increase of 19 points. They were our most improved elementary school. Wadsworth, their grade 3 ELA achievement specifically increased by 12%. Flagler, we were able to get enough students to come in and test, so they earned their first grade since COVID had come. Buddy Taylor, ELA achievement went up 4%. Indian Trails Social Studies went up 7%. At FPC, they were our most improved school overall. Their overall increase was 30 points across all of their components. Matanzas, their science achievement went up 9%. And as a district, one of our proud points is that every academic core area increased in achievement. These were some areas that we identified at the end of last year as areas for growth, and I wanted to update you on those specific pieces. For college and career acceleration, remember this is lag data that looks at the college and career acceleration for the previous school year's graduation class. And because it is lag data, we technically don't know who is on our final cohort because that happens in December with late grads and all of the rollbacks from the state. But the initial data that we've pulled does look promising, that we are going to look at a hopefully double-digit increase in that component for next year. Grade 5, we increased in every content area, and that was one of our issues or concerns last year. Grade 8 math increased by 15%, and grade 10 biology increased by 15%. So our specific strategies that identified things to do in these areas worked in our school plans. I mentioned the escalation clause. This is a statute that got passed a year or two ago, where if over 75% of a certain school category earns an A or a B, that all of the cut scores for the grade levels in that category go up to the next 5%. So high schools and combination schools did hit that 75% threshold this past year. And so all of their cut scores for the different school grades went up to the closest 5%. So now instead of a 64% for an A, you need a 65%. B went up to 60, C went up to 45, D 35. And that the state considers districts as combination schools, so that also changed district grades as well. So, getting to our A-rated district level, across the 12 components that we have, we need a total of 25 points. And so breaking that down, I'll actually start at the bottom with college and career acceleration. We're pretty comfortable with saying that we can expect about a 12% increase, if not more, based on our initial data. And so with those 12 points, I went through each of the other components and predicted some realistic increases at a minimum. And so the 3 other areas that we're really looking at are the ELA learning gains and both of our lowest quartile learning gains, because we need a couple more points in those areas. So we'll switch over to the strategic plan update. And as we go through, the goal leads for each goal are going to come up.
Are there questions about that portion of the data? I'm sure that there are a couple
Sir,
questions.
what we can do, break here, so let's ask about school grades. Any comments or questions?
I do have a question. If we made, you know, I'm looking at some of the raw data from the district grade slide, where, that's slide 3, where we have those numbers, right? And those numbers look very little changed comparative to some of the wins that we're highlighting. For example, no schools with students within those SWD categories below 41%. So does that mean another subgroup had to drop in order for us to essentially have those same scores?
Well, we did, a lot of our school grades increased as far as percentage or the number of points, but because then they divided by the number of components, it ended up falling within the same grade level.
And remembering, when we look at this right now, we're really we're focused on our 10 tradition, our 9 and our 9 and our virtual school. Remembering too that what's not highlighted here or showcased here is Imagine, because they are part of our district grade, and their performance impacts that as well.
Could I see, as a follow-up, a similar format of the report in the district grade slide, but broken out for every school?
That is a part of our grading component.
Thank you.
In regards to Imagine, so, and I know that they're part of our overall grade, is it graded equally as if they were one of our schools? So I'm just trying to think, you know, so last year they were a B, this year they were a C, you know, next year if they're a B or if they're a D or a C, you know, how much impact in comparison? Is it equal, not equal? Just trying to see the future and what can we do, if anything?
Right, so the district grade is calculated as a total number of students in a denominator versus the total number of students who earned that component. And so Imagine is just included in that total number. It doesn't average the schools by, like, it doesn't divide by 11 because we have 11 schools. It's just depending on the total population.
So they're included, the students that are there are included, like the students that are at Wadsworth Elementary School or Bunnell Elementary School as well.
Got it.
But they do have their own board
Yes.
that operates. We have very little control, if any, when it comes to this here on those outcomes, because they have their own school board that is managed by the charter school itself.
Yes, we do work with them on a school-wide improvement plan, and we do provide feedback for them, and we do meet with them and discuss, you know, the data that came out last year and some ideas. And we've also connected them with a Bureau of School Improvement that we've partnered with the last couple of years to hopefully get them into Imagine to help them through that process as well.
So although we don't necessarily have a direct say as an organization, we are investing to help them any way we can if they choose to take that help to get them back up on the scale.
Absolutely, and they have been receptive to our support.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on school grades? Okay, hearing none, let's move forward with strategic plan.
Okay. And the reason we really started with that is because Goal 1 encompasses a lot of that data, so we wanted you to have that background before we head into this. So the strategic plan update will really go forward with our kind of our year in review. So where did we end school year 24-25? And this is the same strategic plan that was developed starting in 2021. Goal areas including academics, educational equity, resiliency and well-being, talent, operational efficiencies, and communication. And this current strategic plan will be implemented through this coming school year, so through the 25-26 school year. So today we'll be giving you an update on our year-end goals, and then we'll be discussing next steps for implementation of a revised or a new strategic plan that would start in 26-27. So just to go over our goal areas again, we have our goal statements there on that first slide, and we will head right into Goal 1, academics.
We have two main categories for Goal 1. One is our core content, and the other one is kindergarten readiness. For our core subjects, ELA, math, and science. For ELA, the achievement goal is to get up to 62% by the end of this school year. For math, we're looking to get up to 64, science up to 65, and social studies up to 73. Kindergarten readiness is the percentage of students who demonstrate readiness in kindergarten through their PM1 score as a kindergartner. Our goal is to get up to 55% by the end of, well, when they take their test this week.
And that's overall as the district grade, you're saying?
Yes. There's a
So-
certain cut score that the state uses for kindergarten readiness, so it's not passing PM1.
Oh, no, I was talking about the ELA and math, the
Oh,
subject
yes.
area ones.
Yep.
Because, you know, it's 7% increase in ELA, that's a lot. So have we ever in our history increased 7% as a district as a whole? Is that how, so you're saying that you've done some feasibility studies of this?
These numbers actually, because this was an extension, so these numbers were original to the previous strategic plan, and we just kept those goals and figured out how much further we needed to get to from the end of last year.
Oh, I
And it was
see.
and it was a 2-year, so that 7% is
Okay.
over 2 years.
So we're getting to the, I see. So that means, what, that's, is it 3%? What were we at this, what
Yeah,
percentage?
and about 3% achievement
Okay.
is reasonable within a year's time
Okay.
period, so.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So for ELA achievement, last year we ended at 55. Our goal for this year as a midway point was 58, and we reached 59%. So we are on our way to reach that 62%. For math, at the end of last year, we were at 58%, so our midpoint goal was 61. We hit 62, so again, we're on our way to that 64. Science, we ended last year at 61. Our mid-year was 63. We reached 64, and our goal overall is 65. Social studies, last year we ended at 69. Our midpoint goal was 71. We reached 73, so we've already achieved our goal for the strategic plan. For kindergarten readiness, we ended last year at 53. Our goal this year was to get to 54, and we did end the year at 49. And so our goal is to get to that 55 still by the end of the strategic plan. And we do have, the next slide goes into detail about kindergarten readiness because we did see that drop and that concerned us. So we dug into that. One thing to note is that they changed the cut score on us. So last year, the cut score increased by 17 points. Went from a 690 to a 707 for kindergarten readiness. So we attribute that drop part mostly to that. And then we also wanted to see is what is the cause or what population specifically is attributing to that drop. And so we looked at our Flagler VPK students, and we actually noticed that if we used the new cut score and compared last year to this year, our students actually went up from 58% to 62%, even though our overall kindergarten readiness went from 53 to 49%.
So you're saying if parents had their students participate in a Flagler Schools run VPK program, they would have not only met the standard set before, but also would have exceeded the new goal set forward. So that must mean that the other students either not participating in VPK or other programs are actually performing at that much wider of a gap. Do you have numbers on distinguishing between the two, between those who participate in VPK outside of Flagler and those who don't?
The state used to report it separately, but this year, for some reason, they stopped reporting it that way, so I currently don't have that data.
I can tell you this, though, Ms. Ruddy. We are working with the Early Learning Coalition. I'm on the board, and we are working on developing an MOU so we can kind of share the data and see where our students are at. In addition, something the state started this year was a summer bridge program for VPK completers who did not meet the percentile of where they needed to be. And so for the first year, we offered that to our schools as well, our students in the community. And we've talked about the ability to get those students information quicker, because right now it doesn't happen until the end of PM3, which is days before summer VPK actually starts. So we're working on a number of fronts to kind of help in this space to help engage our parents. We've opened another VPK unit at Old Kings as we continue to expand our opportunities for families in the community, as well as work with our private providers.
Right. So just as a kind of observational context, during the first week of school, I went and volunteered specifically for the car rider line to help with kindergartners. And I will say that parents who do not take advantage of VPK, beyond the learning component, there's a social anxiety and mental health issue of putting your child in this really large, busy environment where now maybe for the first time they're leaving you for hours on end with what they perceive are strangers. And that is a hard toll to witness. When they're part of VPK, where it's a part-time thing, right, very, exploration environment, they are so much well-suited. You in conversations with our educational professionals, they're like, we can notice the minute they step out of that car or bus which students are emotionally ready for kindergarten just by watching that first interaction. And so it's a matter of almost, supporting their emotional well-being for this transition in their life. It's huge. And these numbers show that.
And for the just benefit of the public is this kindergarten readiness, it's bold for us to take on because we are really impacting it through, of course, the VPK programs that we offer, as well as awareness to the community, bringing awareness to the community, partnering with the Early Learning Coalition, because, we typically have not had more than, let's go for an aggressive point and say 50% of our students that participate in our programs versus not. And so these students are taking this assessment within the first 30 days of school. And so this is coming in, are you ready? We have not provided any instruction to them. And so I just always like to make sure that our community is aware of what this number represents. Are you ready for kindergarten? And we know that this has a direct correlation to our grade 3 ELA as well and so forth.
Absolutely, and one of the things we did is the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. We wrote 3 years ago, and part of it allows us to try and push it to private providers to provide literacy components and instructional support. We did it through our federal programs in Tammy York and our team, and we were able to get into 4 of our private providers. Obviously wanted to get to more of them, but to try and stand up and support knowing the literacy and the math expectations, as well as the social emotional pieces as those students transition to kindergarten.
And we do have resources on our website for families who don't go to VPK about what specific skills they can work on at home to have their child be more ready academically for kindergarten.
Well, can I just say one thing about kindergarten teachers real quick in this? God loved them. And I am proud of every single one of them, and I value them tremendously. I've had a family member doing that for 30 years, teaching kindergarten, and you go to bed early and you get up early. And it is, I'm all seriousness, I really, they are setting the stage for students moving forward right then. And so I tip my hat to all teachers, of course, but since we're talking about them, I tip my hat to what they do every single day. Goodness gracious.
Indeed. Special place in heaven.
Yes.
Probably should be.
Okay,
Thank you, Jeff.
Move into goal
Thank you.
2.
Educational equity, and we'll invite our new coordinator of exceptional student education, Dr. Jennifer Wright, to the table. I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to meet her yet.
Partners with Dr. Halliday.
Yes.
So for educational equity, we are looking at increasing the academic performance of some specific subgroups. The 2 that were identified in the strategic plan were Black African American students and our students with disabilities. Our goal for students with disabilities was to get up to 6 schools above that 41% threshold. by the end of last year, but really by the end of next year. And then increase the number of schools above that 41% to 9 schools by the end of the strategic plan for Black African American students. And then additionally, to increase our college and career acceleration rate at our high schools up to 54% at the end of this, by the end of this year. So looking at our metrics, we ended last year with 8 of our schools above that 41%. Our goal was to get to 9 schools, and we ended up at 10, so we surpassed our goal. For students with disabilities, we ended last year with 2 schools above 41%. Our goal was to get to 6 this year, and we ended the year at 4. So our goal is to get to that 6 by the end of this year. And then for college and career acceleration, we last year had 48%. Our goal for this midpoint was 51. We ended up with 47, but we're going to stick to our goal of 54 for next year. Any questions about goal 2?
I like the aggressiveness.
And our for college career acceleration specifically, our data does show that we should get there.
Good. Great.
Thank you.
Well, she got off easy.
She did.
We take it easy on your first round.
First round.
It's the only pass.
Next time.
Goal 3 is student services and a little bit of HR with resiliency and well-being. The first goal is to mitigate chronic absenteeism, get our chronic absenteeism rate below 5%. And the other one deals with our wellness center and to get to 36% participation by the end of this school year. So looking at the specific metrics, with our chronic absenteeism, which is absent for 21 or more days, we ended last year at right about 5%. Our goal was to get below 5% or remain below 5%. We did end this year at 8.82%. Our goal is to get back under 5%.
What's the reason for, that's a pretty big jump. You know, we didn't have any crazy disruptions, things of that nature. Now, I know part of the challenge is defining absent. So when you say absent, are we saying the full day, part of the day? What's absent?
So I could speak to that. We're really looking at unexcused absences. So these are absences that are not medical excusals, or parents have 5 excused absences for the fall and 5 for the spring. Some of this is just the parent not utilizing their excused absences. We do have a new system this year through Parent Square where parents are able to excuse the absences through the parent excusal through the app. So we're hoping that that'll help get the word out to parents and bring that number back in alignment with where we want to be.
Was there a certain ratio of, let's say, tardies, like you come a half hour, an hour late to school, that equals 1 absence, or no? Is that
yes.
just? Okay.
So tardies are 3 tardies equals an absence.
Okay.
Is how we count it.
And that is, that would fall under the unexcused, but parents also have like a certain number that they can excuse of those?
Yes, so they can use them and excuse them for either the day or for tardy. So they have 5 for the fall, 5 for the spring.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys were gonna talk to this. I mean, below 5% is extremely aggressive when you look at what is happening across the state. I mean, I know our goal is to get below 5%, but 8% is amazing for where we are as a state, because what is happening, to your point, Ms. Ruddy, we didn't have any major disruptions, but we do see students staying home more often, right? You know, I'm not feeling well, or whatever the case may be, travel, whatever, but below 5% is extremely aggressive for where we are as a state. What is the average right now?
And we revised, so it is closer to 10. We revised this target last year when we revised the strategic plan. It was closer to 10, and we were showing rates closer to 10 pre-pandemic. But we saw a few years post-pandemic that were 5-6%, and so that's why we went with a more aggressive target. I will also note that we were trending to meet the goal in April, but in May is when we saw students hitting that threshold. So if we would report on our data through April, we would have met this, but it ballooned almost 3% from April to May of the end of the school year, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we have essentially almost 10% of our students missing 11% of the school year.
But I think Ms. Moore has a good point. So students that aren't feeling well, so they're coughing, right?
But you don't have 3% increase in that year over year.
It's so easy for students to log online and, you know, on their iPad, they can, all their worksheets are on there. So if they're not feeling well, I can see how, you know, a lot of parents work from home, so that could be why
My
these
argument,
numbers.
though, is those.
I'm not saying it's okay,
Those
but that's-
assignments are supposed to be proof and evidence of the learning in the classroom. They are not the learning. If they could do those assignments at competency without attending the lesson, then we wouldn't need school, right? But that's not the point, and I think parents and students misunderstand just turning in something as opposed to participating in a lesson.
We also have an attendance plan for this year that's very aggressive with putting out communication throughout the year to families via social media and our other platforms to just remind them of the importance of daily school attendance. So we're going to be working hard this year to get that number back to that 5%.
And making sure that families understand that school is still happening in May, you know, to the point that we are trending for this to reach this goal, and we have this jump in the last month of school. So making sure that we're saying to our families, school and learning is still happening, but also that we are addressing it with our faculty, our staff, and our administrators to say we're not saying to schools, to families or to students that they don't have to come because my grade is already tested, so I can just stay home. Those types of things, that we're not kind of creating this in the last month of school ourselves.
There's always, you know, more experiential activities you could do, previewing content for the next year. The school year does not end with the test. And does not end when the grades are submitted into Skyward. And so, you know,
I agree.
And again, that needs to be underscored with the faculty as well, that we don't have 2 weeks of board games and videos, right?
Or articulating to students, you don't have to come today, right? Because if that parent is saying, well, they're just testing today, but the parent isn't going forth to use their absence or feel like, why am I using it? So just, it's education on both sides.
Right.
Parent Square, I think, will help though, because when a student's absent, if you don't, like you said, I mean, there was a time I was like, oh, I didn't put in that, you know,
Makes
the
it easier.
attendance, and it counts towards the student, but it also counts towards the school. So I think Parent Square is really gonna help. I'm curious to see how much, but I think, you know, everything's built in there. It's just easier for everyone.
It still means they were absent. So just the fact that we have this more than 10% of the school year, that goes beyond, I think, what is typically appropriate. So I think a couple of things. I would love us to think outside the box and try to come up with a positive reinforcement. Do we have some friendly competition among schools to get the lowest reported, you know, absences, you know, per quarter or something like that? And kind of focus on the positive as opposed to the negative, but also are there resources that maybe our teaching and learning department could provide as ideas for that post-test time that we can capitalize on?
Real quick to your point of being able to do it in the app, and this year is, we talk about communication a lot, so we probably overload on some of that, I'm sure, to some degree. How are we pushing that out to let them know that that option is there to be able to help them since it's new?
Yes, so they'll get a message from Parent Square letting them know that their child was not in school today.
Okay.
And then they can respond back, and their response back actually counts as the parent excusal.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Perfect.
The second goal under this, the second metric under this goal is our wellness center participation. And so because it opened right before the end of the school year, we didn't include that data, but I don't know if Mr. Ola or Mr. Walker has some initial numbers, but our goal by the end of the school year is to get up to 36% utilization.
Good afternoon, Board.
Welcome.
Board, as you know, we only recently opened, so the full scale of, where we are as far as meeting this goal or not yet realized. I will say that as of, the early numbers, we were already at, 17% utilization. And so those are promising early numbers. I mean, we still have a long way to go to make sure.
70% of the.
17.
Oh, sorry, 17%.
I like
of
your
the-
numbers.
Yeah, sorry. 17% of those who have elected to take our health insurance. And so do we have numbers on, we offered some different plans, different contributions from the board to try to improve the family participation. Do we have any data around how those numbers have changed in each of those buckets?
Those final numbers will be ready for the next insurance committee meeting. As far as all the numbers, as far as our new enrollees.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is with all of our new folks that recently joined the district, they all had start dates of August. So with August, they essentially have until the end of September to make their elections. So we've been working with Brown and Brian to look at that migration, and they'll be running an updated report the first week in October. That'll have a complete picture of, hey, everything through open enrollment, all our folks that dropped from the plan, all of our new employees that have gone on and made elections, whether it's going from base to the HSA, to the premium, whether it's employee only or family. We are going to have a presentation in October for the board showing that migration and where we're currently at for our insurance.
Can I ask during that presentation that we note what the financial impact is? Because I believe that some of our decisions around that were, hey, we're hoping this number sign up for this particular plan in order for us to be within our overall budget. Yeah.
Absolutely. So similar to what was presented to the board when you guys approved the rate plan and structure for this year, and it showed, hey, we're thinking we're going to have, say, 100 people in this bucket, 100 people in this, and based on those funding levels, how we anticipate it impacting our self-insurance fund, we will have that mirrored to what the actual numbers are.
Yeah, but even those numbers will be just the starting point, because it's really going to see how it bears out as far as usage across the year.
Okay, and is that also where we're going to hopefully see that next level of analysis from that,
Fleet.
Words are hard.
Trust.
Yes, basically the catastrophic type of insurance that you
Stop
have.
loss?
Stop loss, there we go.
Stop loss, actually, that contract is up right about now, and Brown & Brown will be bringing us forward.
No, I remember the guy for
He's
the.
talking about the
Oh,
trust.
you're
She's
talking
talking about
trust.
the
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the trust. I currently am working on our next level meeting with them. The last place we left it is once we gave them our most current data as far as our enrollment, they were going to do some modeling for us.
Yes.
I don't have the
And I know there was a transition
Yes.
for them, so
I
it
don't
took
have the
some more
modeling
time.
yet, but we are in the process of scheduling that meeting. Matter of fact, Heather reached out to them today to make sure we
We're
get
gonna
that.
start stalking them a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
okay, great, perfect.
We literally just spoke about this today.
Yep.
Yes, we are. That's where we are right now.
Thank you.
And when are you guys going to survey out employees on the time of the office? So to see like, oh, is this time frame working for you? Is it not? Like, what's your goal on how long are you waiting till it's been open? Just, I'm curious to see, like, it looks great, but.
And part of our discussions are what we don't want to do is make a million small changes. What we really want to do is collect at least a half year
Okay, so
worth
that's
of
why,
data to
so in about
understand.
6 months in.
Yeah, so we'd hate to just
check
like
on
tweak the time
times.
here and
Okay.
then look at other tweaks. We really kind of do it thoughtful and data-based and be able to come forward and say, this is what, at the half year, our folks are saying, pluses and deltas about
And
where we
looking
are.
at the fill rate, are we filling up the positions? How far out are our appointments and stuff going? Our staff, for instance, I know if you go on to schedule an appointment right now, you're about a week out for an appointment. But if you are needing to be seen sooner, you give them a call and they're able to get you in within this week. So we're looking at all of that, but we will be surveying them to find out, did they not choose the health center at any point because of the hours in order to determine if we need to choose it. But we're going to give it at least 6 months, which we're already well into that.
Yeah, how fast it goes.
Yes, it does.
But a
go
week
quick.
is an amazing turnaround.
Yes. If you go just onto the website and select an appointment, you can get an appointment for next week. But if you call for something
Right, like an
urgent,
urgent
like
situation.
I follow up from an emergency room visit or any of those things, they're getting them in
And
this week.
virtual, right? They're still, they
Yes.
can still do it
And that
virtual
was
as
even
well.
not
So,
even
yeah.
offering the
So-
virtual. If I want to be seen, if you want to go on and be seen right now, there are slots that they have open. You're not more than a week and a half out. I mean, I'm just saying, right now, you can't get into
No.
some places in months,
Yes.
and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called, I had an ear infection, they'll say 2 months, I'll be deaf by then.
Right, exactly. Now, with the utilization and participation, our goal is the 36. What is constituting utilization? Is that just somebody visiting and receiving a service? Or do members also select our center, our wellness center, as a primary care provider?
So the engagement numbers and what they look at as far as return on investment is just utilizing it for the service. So when we look at those utilization data, so we're at about 17% right now. That would be someone coming in for, say, whether it's an acute visit, a primary visit, or a lab visit, it's they are engaging with the center itself. Now, we'll be able to go forward as it gets farther and farther down the line on getting an idea of how many folks are making the choice to move to the wellness center for her to be their provider. But really, as we look to drive engagement utilization, it's based on just using the services at the center. Kind of seen as a gateway, because once they start using it, then they get more comfortable and it increases their likelihood of maybe even making it their primary care.
Well, I think in the long run, the more that we can get in that status would be help us get to a healthier workforce too, because it's just like having a relationship with your doctor. They have that history to follow up on rather than just coming in, I'm just coming in for this one thing, and then that would be ideal in the long-term goal to encourage that.
Yes, no, that's exactly right. I mean, the utilization was just the entry-level metric we're using, but the actuaries, the back end of this is what they want to see is that, we're not using the other more expensive routes as far as the emergency room, things like that. And the second piece on that is that by using the access point with the wellness center, our folks are actually getting ahead of what could be potential chronic illnesses later on. And that would be where the real cost savings is. And those are kind of softer numbers that would kind of lag as an indicator under utilization.
Okay, great.
While it's not highlighted in here, I just want to note too that we have experienced very quick turnaround with new employee drug screens using the wellness center, and so that's really helped with our onboarding, the pace of our onboarding. So
There's additional efficiencies that we're
That might
seeing
not
that
be
we may not have
captured.
calculated in the total benefits.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are taking the advice from the provider. So the back-to-school breakfast, I told Ms. Moore, we were all serving breakfast, and probably about, 5, 6 people were like, oh, no, I've been going to the wellness center. They said, watch out for the carbs and watch out. But they were
Good.
serious. And
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm
great
very
feedback.
proud of everyone that has been utilizing the wellness center.
Great feedback. Okay.
Transitioning to goal 4 is talent. So looking at our recruitment and our vacant instructional and vacant non-instructional positions on day 1 of each semester. Our goal for instructional is to get to 4% or less by the end of the school year, and for non-instructional, 6% or less. Looking at the metrics, for instructional positions, we ended last year at 5%. Our midpoint goal was 4.5%, and I gave you both numbers there for the fall and the spring because we measure it on day 1 of each semester. And we were at 2.8% in the fall and 1.6% in the spring. So we have well surpassed our goal. Same thing with non-instructional. Our goal this year was 6.5%, and we hit 4.4% in the fall and 1.7% in the spring.
That's great.
Should we be adjusting then our goals for fall and spring, because those are big differences?
That is an interesting point, and I think that can be something that we look at for the next plan. Any other?
Just stay on that target, that 2-point stuff. That'd be fine.
That is significantly under the industry standard, just to point
What
out.
else? That's a great question. What is that? What is
We s-
statewide?
We set the target based on the statewide
Okay.
And as
industry standard.
the state, and I can't remember the exact number, but there was a memo that was sent out about it, because there has been a great improvement in vacancy, instructional vacancies across the state, but not to where we are right now.
Yeah, and we also, for the extension, we also identified when we were gonna measure it, because we were kind of measuring it at different points throughout the year, but really identifying that it's really important on day one for students to have a teacher in their classroom. Okay, we'll go on to goal 5, which is operations. So we have plant and custodial services with the average number of days to complete a work order. We have food and nutrition services with their meals per labor hour, transportation with on-time arrivals, finance with our general fund balance, and technology with a professional learning plan. So we'll start with our work order completion time and meals per labor hour. For work orders, last year we ended at 14 days to complete a work order. Our goal this year was for 12. And for this year, we are sitting at 6.25. And that asterisk is because the software that we use changed how they reported it, and so we were unable to filter out some of our routine maintenance or long-term work orders that just sit there because they're for all year. And so we pulled the data from last July to this March, because in April is when the software changed how it reports, and so we weren't getting accurate data at that point. So we were sitting at 6.25 by the end of March, which met our goal. And then for meals per labor hour, we ended last year at 19. Our goal was 20. This is one of those goals that we want to go up. And this year we ended at 15.9 meals per labor hour.
Is that because fewer students were eating the meals, or is it?
The two primary reasons were a decrease in breakfast participation, a significant decrease in breakfast participation, and then also in smart snack sales. So the numerator part of the fraction went down. Our labor hours stayed pretty steady.
Why do you think they're not eating breakfast?
We're digging into that. There is some indication that it's related to the first part of the school year, and that's just a tough part of the year to get everybody back in and organized. But we're looking site by site. I believe there's different barriers at different schools, and so we're trying to assess what those barriers are and overcome them.
Time is a factor too, I feel like, just getting through the car rider line and getting them in the class.
Absolutely.
Right, but that would have been baked into previous year's data as well. Do you know what I mean? So to have the decrease from last year.
I think
the end of the
kids
year.
too, like, one day, mine are like, oh, I'm gonna eat at school. Today, nobody wanted to eat at school, they ate breakfast. So I don't know why either, but I don't know, it's good to, I guess, look into, but.
We are digging into that, yeah.
And really looking at it site by site, looking at,
Yes.
some other data related to that. Is it a backup in car rider line, or do we have late buses that are coming into that site? Any of the related to breakfast. What is the practice at those schools when students are coming in late, or it is a backed up line? Is that breakfast still there and available, and students know that, and we're encouraging them to still take advantage of that opportunity? How easily, all of those pieces around arrival time makes a difference.
You also said it was a decrease in smart snack sales. What are some examples of the smart snacks?
The smart snacks are anything that we sell outside of the breakfast meal, lunch meal, or the after-school meal. So it might be Rice Krispie treats, it might be baked chips, it might be a Powerade that are sold in addition at cash value or with a cash cost in addition to the meal programs.
Are these all prepackaged type of things that we're reselling, or do we, like Rice Krispies, do we make the Rice Krispies, or do we just have the prepackaged ones?
Generally, it's prepackaged
Okay,
items,
gotcha.
yes.
like
On
the-
occasion, we do, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, like all like the ice cream, the cookies, but so the restriction on the app now, I mean, I'm sure it's been there, but there's a restriction on it, so parents, like, I just restricted, and I should have done it years ago, but they're only allowed to get 2 items. It was 1 item a day, and then now it's 2, but they're only allowed on Friday, you know, because, but maybe the restrictions on the app are too restrictive, I don't know.
I mean, parents control, you know, but I mean, yeah, we had that problem in our house too. But, but it also could just be, you know, maybe some families are just a little squeezed on disposable income and they're not spending money on these extra items, so there's that.
But I did find out they can bring cash and give it to the, and I didn't know
I don't give
that
them
until I
cash
saw,
either.
I said, I didn't put $20 in there, where did it come from? So I'm learning tricks, but, yeah, they can just,
Definitely add cash to their account.
a child can give them.
So just to be clear, I thought you were saying the smart snack sales are driving down the meals per hour because they're choosing snacks and that's not counted as a meal, that's prepared. But you're saying, no, those snack sales are also decreased. Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
They're an additional factor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Eat pizza and corn, you'll be all right.
Beets and corn?
Pizza and corn, that's all, that's what we got. First day of school, pizza and corn.
Mr. Ruddy,
But I do like the new waffles
Mr. Barnes
you
did
have.
ask me, he's like, you know, first day of school was always pizza and corn. Do you
Pizza
think
and
that's what we're
corn.
having? I'm like, I don't know that that's what we're having today. A lot's changed since, you know.
I think it was pizza.
Pizza.
They have
I think it
themed
was.
lunches,
It
themed
was pizza.
breakfasts, I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah.
If all else fails, that's what we gotta do.
Yes, pizza and
Pizza and corn.
Rectangle pizza, just there.
That's right.
Rectangle
And
pizza.
it really wasn't good either.
Okay, for bus on-time arrivals.
I think they're left. We can talk to it.
We ended last year at 90%. Our goal for this year was 91, and we reached 93%, so we've already surpassed our strategic plan goal.
That's arrival to the school.
Yes.
Yes, it's not at the stops too.
Um, it is-
I'm not asking.
Yeah, for this, it is their arrival for the getting to the school on time, their arrival.
Okay.
The completion of their routes.
Okay, so if the bus is broken down or there's a missing driver, is that data included in that overall, or is that only a functioning and staffed bus?
I think if the bus eventually, if the sub bus comes in potentially and picks up students and gets them on time, it counts as on
So
time.
this is all counting everything, nothing
Yes.
left out. Gotcha, thanks.
Because they have to log in, whatever bus they're driving, they have to log into the system for it to begin to track them.
And I believe our previous strategic plan had breakdowns on it, and
Yeah.
we had surpassed our goal, so we took it off. For the general fund balance, last year we ended at 8.5%. Our goal is always to have more than 5%, and we don't have an exact number, but we are above that 5% at the end of this year. And then for technology, Mr. Deasing's here. The goal is to develop a comprehensive technology professional learning plan, and we are in progress of developing and implementing that plan.
So we continue to develop and implement a comprehensive professional learning plan centered on technology and education and artificial intelligence, targeting completion for the 25-26 school year. Our Flagler School's AI task force continues to meet to address evolving needs. Significant progress has been made in advancing AI in the classroom with professional learning sessions, engaging teachers in various subject areas, providing training on tools such as Magic School, Conmigo, Google Gemini, Brisk, and Notebook LM. We've collaboratively developed a generative AI best practices for both students and teachers, and have completed some pre and post surveys for teacher and student use. And we saw a lot of positive improvement with that. And that was primarily focused on background knowledge and perception. So going through those trainings have definitely allowed our staff to engage with AI in a different manner, as it not being such a big kind of scary thing. Obviously, the more folks get to know about it, the comfort level continues to improve. We've offered various additional learning opportunities, including pre-planning choice sessions, Established a digital learning hub for training needs, so this is available to all of our teachers as we continue to develop them. We continue to add them. A lot of it comes from questions and answers. A lot of it comes in with responses to our Tech Tuesday that Teresa Phillips continues to put out. So she gets a ton of questions back, and then we look at those and continue to create additional kind of just-in-time how-tos. These aren't long trainings, but more of in the line of 5, 6, 7 minutes to really share that knowledge at a just-in-time level. We've developed tech teams that have been formed for each school to facilitate feedback and training. We did a Train the Trainer summer boot camp this summer with a focus on AI component tools, creating district-wide device care and acceptable use policy resources. So one of the things that we really heard feedback from was teachers having resources to be able to share just around how to use the devices, how to take care of them. So that team actually developed several videos targeted both from elementary, middle, and high school. So they were generated by those different teams with those targeted audiences in mind. We have significantly improved staff and student knowledge in the use of technology, and we've offered over 1,000 training seats filled in various formats covering AI, digital tools, and efficiency. So this isn't just for our instructional staff. We continue to research and learn about the use of AI in education by attending conferences, national conferences, and participating in the State of Florida AI Task Force. And then kind of touched on it, but just wanted to again highlight the Tech Tuesday newsletter. It continues to get a lot of great feedback and continues to be one of the most digested newsletters that we put out for our staff and employees.
When we say that we got its development, or the plan's being developed and it's in progress, what is the end date for us of completion?
The end of
Is it the end of this school year? Okay, all right, thank you.
So that's why it says NA for goal for 25-26.
Just completion.
It's just a yes or no.
Okay.
It's not a
So that's what I think, that was a great overview of the impact of your department, and there's no question it is a gem and the envy of many districts. But I think for here, this particular goal is talking about operational efficiency. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to maybe clarify or tweak it to something under that particular strategic plan topic. For example, how many fewer tickets are coming in about, hey, I don't know how to use the software, or what's your
What's
number
the turnover time
of,
for closing out the tickets?
yeah,
that are
right,
That's
number
what-
of times to close
Tickets, that's what I was
the
thinking.
tickets, or, you know, maybe, you know, whenever we have new hires or new software, there's always an adoption lag, right, to our software. Are we, is your team, which you are doing through this PL plan, shortening that time to implementation or adoption? And what does that look like? Are we, and that way, all of those things that you do every day are influencing those operational efficiencies, but yet, you know, just to kind of identify one to work on and measure the number of, and that progress towards reaching that goal.
Yeah, I was thinking like similar to plant services, they have ticket orders or ticket times, you know, if there's an issue. So if a parent reaches out or faculty or staff, oh, you know, my Skyward, you know, is not working, it's saying my student or my child doesn't go here, but, you know, is that something we could, is that what we're looking for, you know, ticket time operations for technology? Because there's that.
I think the, when this was adjusted to be around the technology PL plan, was also to ensure that as dollars change and we are not in a position to offer some of the trainings that we've had, we're not losing the investment that we've made to our teachers, not to our teachers, to our staff, to be able to provide them with professional learning. So, you know, the team is looking at what are those things we can offer face-to-face, what are those things that are sustained over time, what are those things that are now available on demand to them. So I think that is I know that is where that was really influenced behind, because when we start looking at all of the cuts that have been made to the dollars that are available, it's easy to say we're just gonna reduce the area of professional learning and reduce the area of professional learning from technology. But when we look at the data of our teachers signing up for it, but our staff going and asking for these levels of support, we need to ensure that we created something that was comprehensive, that would allow for us to continue to sustain those opportunities for our workforce.
Totally agree, yeah.
I'm sorry, but isn't that though what you're kind of talking about, leading, I mean, it's learning and development to some degree as well out of that, instead of a true operational efficiency of, I call your team member and I need something, how long is it going to take you to get it fixed? I mean, that's real simple.
And what I will say, and we can definitely change that, but what you will find with our technology team specifically is when it comes to operational efficiency, the goals that they have, there are always things to work on, but they are one of the most efficient departments in the organization. And so we would just have to be very creative at the target area we need to look at. But here it was really around dollars may go away, we still have to keep the organization moving and professional learning being provided to them.
And
so we can definitely look at changing this.
The number of participants, right, could have been, because obviously you have to be quite efficient to figure out how do we deliver PL to a mass of people without necessarily holding conference-style sessions, right? Or even, I know Ms. Kopak, she is on a campus every day, all the time in classrooms. How many classes are you able to service, right? So I think those things could definitely tie into this PL plan. How do we know the PL plan is improving efficiency, which thus is retaining or making the best possible use of the dollars available? I think that's what we're coming from. I know you have to establish the plan, but then there has to be a measure of success from the plan.
We definitely can bring back some options.
Okay.
But I am excited to hear all the things that you guys have been learning, and then obviously Tech Tuesday, all those items, how we can, and I see, on the agenda, how we can implement that into our district to make things more efficient. So not only in the classroom, but how can we make it more efficient as a family, as a district, and, make things run smooth.
I think part of it, when we talk about comprehensive, in my mind, a lot of this wasn't that it was directly pointed at classroom, that it was kind of a response to the AI task force, where we had almost 100 employees that have been volunteering time to kind of help us kind of evolve what those ideas and goals are, and not just from teachers, not from just a student perspective, not just administration, but folks from transportation, folks from facilities, folks from custodial services, having those voices, and then that's helping to kind of drive so that there's opportunities to kind of connect some of the technology with the day-to-day operations, to take advantage of those, because just because you may be very familiar and very good with a particular area of AI, if you can't apply it to what your day-to-day work is, it becomes very difficult to implement those. So it's such a good value to have folks that are learning that piece of it, to be able to tie it in specifically to the work that they do every day.
And as we transition to communication, I do want to just take a moment to recognize Ms. Kopak and Ms. Teresa Phillips as well, because several board members have recognized them, but these two individuals are servicing this entire district, the instructional staff, and not just the instructional staff, but also our entire staff base with different things. And the technology department is a great department. But this week alone, I've had 2 parents that have given me compliments on the work that they do with really living out our guiding principles of getting to yes and being willing to work, after hours or whatever it takes in order to make sure that those devices are in the hands of our students, and that our workforce feels empowered to really utilize them. So in front of everyone, we appreciate you guys, and we thank you guys for your hard work, because they've been doing it for a number of years, just the two of them, and we appreciate them and all their hard work, because it's often behind the scenes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Transitioning into our final goal, communication. Our 2 metrics are to increase engagement within social media by 5% by the end of the school year, and to increase positive perceptions of school district communication as measured by our annual family survey from 82 to 84. Looking at the 2 metrics, it was close for social media. Just kidding. We got up to 681,091 engagements, so we almost doubled our goal for the end of the strategic plan. And with positive perception on the family survey, our goal this year was 83%. We did hit that goal, and our goal is to get 1% more for next year.
You know the question I'm going to ask, right? If we superseded our goal, right, by 100%, why would we set the goal lower than what we achieved for the next year?
They were set when we revised the plan last year. We set the 2-year outcome mark.
And when we
So
talk
we
about
can-
the
we
new
can adjust
timeline,
it.
yes, this is just an update of where we were and what was already set. So we're going to talk about
I'm
how do we go
sorry, yeah, I missed
forward,
that.
and we're going to bring some additional things to you
Okay.
for options for us to
Got it.
change. Yes.
I thought it was because baby sup caused that 300.
Yeah. we got all of that right
We
there.
couldn't top that one ever.
That could have been 100,000.
A
Hey, we
lot
can
of it
monetize
definitely
this
is
stuff.
content produced, but the other half of it is, we've done a lot of hard work between Ms. Henderson and myself of doing actual engagement with families and making sure we're very visible and commenting with them, even in a public forum when appropriate. So it's not just that family gets help, but the rest of the market that we're marketing to now
Yeah.
sees how helpful we are.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I wanted to bring up, was I noticed a lot of times on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, that I noticed that one or both of you will respond to whomever has made a comment to say, if you have a problem, please email me or call me at this particular number, and they'll call you and you can get it resolved. I mean, sometimes I think maybe you'll probably get something that is on a private message that is more of a public, that probably should have been public, but you get a private message to say, hey, this has already been resolved, and I know that those are happening. But to see you having that interaction kind of basically live is noticeable. I noticed it. I'm sure other people do too. But it's just really good to see that we are making that kind of that instant. And I noticed it on the first couple of days when we had some bus issues. Call me. You got an issue, call me here now, so we can start working on and resolving the issue. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll say that's very encouraging, just based on the measure that I personally can measure from 22 when I started to now, and the emails I would get about why aren't you getting things more out on social media, because that's where we are. That was the parent speaking, right? Emails are definitely still effective, but that's not where the parents, they're right there on their social media. So, and I don't remember the last time I've gotten that complaint. So this is obviously a testament that we're reaching more.
And we're building relationships with families who are well-versed if they catch something, if there's a question. And that's the one thing I will say is there are a lot of things that we can do better, lots of things that we can do better. And but for one thing I say confidently, if a parent or a community member, if they're reaching out to us, we are responding. There may be times that you may not like what the response is, but we are responding. We respond to our families, we respond to our community, and if you have messaged us and we haven't responded, message us again, give us a call. You know, we got to keep double checking that spam folder, because we do respond. And that's what I say to families all the time. I say to our community, they are always welcome to email you. They are welcome to reach out to you, but we don't respond just because they reach out to you. We respond because that's what's best for our students and that's what's best for our community. So this is something we are very passionate about, is making sure that if someone reaches out to us, we're getting the information to them and we're getting it to them in a timely manner.
We actually have another side that's given birth to is here lately. We've had situations that will arise. We'll encourage that one-on-one communication. And one situation I'm thinking of, Ms. Henderson and I were just talking about was, it was a parent who had a concern about a procedure on campus and very much wanted to question us, well, why do we not have X, Y, or Z? To which I said, you know, we'll look into that. We'll be glad to find out what we need to find out for you. No, we're going to bring this to a school board meeting. And I'm like, oh, excellent. That's exactly what. Please bring it to. We want you to be heard on all fronts. So, you know, then in turn we encourage them to, and hopefully they'll be here this evening with us. So it opens up all kinds of communication avenues we're excited about.
And good job with the videos. Like when an event happens, it's posted within 30 minutes. So I think
Ms.
parents
Henderson to me,
appreciate that.
thank you.
So.
And the on board together, that's also another good one.
Oh
Showing
yeah,
the board.
it's very cute with the surfboard. And
Keep sharing your content. We're glad to help.
I was going to say, that's your pitch right there, Dawn. It's how you
That's
can, Mr. Foley,
We
to
want
say,
you.
continue
We
to show,
want
share the information.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about next steps for our strategic plan.
All right, so we have just kind of sketched out a timeline for a new strategic plan. You know, as a reminder, this current plan will take us through this school year that we're in now. So you just received the end of year update. We are looking to gather stakeholder feedback, and that would include from employees, community members, from you as a board, September through December. And during that time, we would hold a board workshop so that we can really spend some time getting your thoughts and direction on next steps. We would then work with our departments to draft that new plan January through March of 2026 and get the first draft to you in April. We'd be looking at revisions based on that feedback and our end of year data, May to June, and then final approval from you in July of next year. This is what we've sketched out. We're looking for feedback from you. If that seems like an okay timeline, that's kind of where we stand right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good. All right, thank you very much for a great
Thanks.
presentation. Board, before we move on, we'll take a 5-minute
Yep,
recess.
I was just going to ask. Thank you.
Everybody back? Okay, yeah. All right, we'll now resume the meeting, and we are going to move on to agenda item 9.01, AI chatbot and notebook. And we have Mr. Deasing, Ms. Phillips, and Ms. Kopak.
So thanks. We just wanted to give you an update of some things that we have for testing out or piloting. The first one is on our website itself, and it's an AI chatbot. We haven't really officially named it yet. It's like Ask Flagler Schools, Ask AI. We're not sure of that yet, but it's here. We rolled it out first within GSB, just the staff that was here to have them test it, you know, give it a try, pretend you're a parent, ask questions, how did it do? It did really well, we got feedback, and then we went out to all the admins. And now it's live on our site. We haven't really promoted that it's there. We just wanted to kind of see what, you know, what feedback they get just from doing it. But it's down on the bottom right-hand corner. It's there now if you're on it. But
So you can go play on this too.
Yeah. So if you click here, it just says, "Hi, I'm Ask Flagler. You know, your AI assistant. How can I help you?" So is there a question one of you guys would like to ask as a parent?
Do you need to take art to graduate high school?
And so then it'll go through and it's indexing or searching all of our sites, and it says, yes, you can earn a standard high school diploma from Flagler Schools. Students need 1 credit in fine art, physical art, and it went through, and then it references the website where it goes to. So if it's a question that it doesn't know the answer to, it comes through and it prompts you and says, you know, this information's not here, please complete this contact us form.
That's genius.
Support.
So up top where we have this contact us, eventually that's gonna kind of phase out or redirect to have the AI pop up first for them to ask the question, and then if it's not there, they'll do that. Sometimes it'll even give you the specific person to reach out to. If it's like a, you know, if I asked a question about federal funds, it might route me to Tammy York with a question if I couldn't find it. So the feedback so far is pretty good.
Well, I gotta share, one of the first things that I jumped on here and did as soon as we got it up, I put in, when is spring break? Because if you look at some of the info of what the searches and things that you get, the number one is always calendar. And it's not always easy to find out those things. So when is spring break? Put it on your own calendar. How many times you go, man, I don't remember what it is.
March 16th through the 20th on 2026.
So it literally pulls up in this stuff
No,
and put in.
marketing.
It's pretty slick. I even sat down and asked it, what are our hurricane makeup days, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a little more obscure
Right.
than what
That has high
you know,
variability.
is that, you know, spring break or not? So even being able to do that, I specifically broke them out, told each single day, and then referenced the 2 documents that reference those days. So it's pretty intuitive, and it's done a really good job. Lots of good feedback. We did launch this within our own staff, administrators, our principals. So it did bring forth some things that we needed to work through.
It's gotten several updates, like just out-of-date information on the website, not necessarily like pulling wrong stuff, but the information we had out was wrong. So like that way it's kind of identified a few things we've gone out to fix. This is the dashboard that we can see as far as uses. You can see it's not super high. Like I said, we haven't put it out. But you are able to go in and I can see all the chat logs, so you can download and look through those and see what questions are being asked and what questions, you know, the responses. We can customize the knowledge base. So right now we just have the Flagler Schools website as the one there, but when I can also put in a PDF document of all school board policies. Like we can add other documents to this that it'll reference as well. You can even set up the appearance, and I can make the tone or voice, like I had it friendly and warm first because that's what I would pick, but it was really, really long responses.
Too nice.
So then we switched to professional and polite, and then we did, you know,
It's
concise and direct, just
concise.
to kind of get that answer is what we've kind of seen with that. So you have some of these settings, you know, that we can customize for it as well.
And I see it's bilingual because I put hello and it just came all the way back to me in Spanish, but I said English and then it's like, okay, sure, I can speak to you in English.
Yeah, it'll translate that too,
Wow.
So all of this information is just off of our current website. You'll eventually be able to just add to that from anything else.
Yeah, under knowledge. So one of the things that we're digging through now is which web links do we add? So essentially, we can add additional websites or different additional documents to the knowledge base that's referenced. So Right
Could be
now,
the
it's
Department
just
of Ed.
Flagler
Right.
schools, but looking at some of those, that was a big example that we talked about, was adding the DOE specifically.
right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our own documents reference those. We'll have our school board
Yeah.
policy put into those as well. So not only will the responses be specific to Flagler, but also if they do reference, like Department of Education reference, any of those things, as well as statute eventually, we're gonna start building those things out where they're appropriate,
Yeah.
based off of kind of what we see people searching for and what's the best source of information for something.
So will it go into, say, board docs? How will it get our policies in there? Or do you have to physically
I
put
will
every?
probably upload a PDF version of all the policies because that's easier for it to search. It could go through board docs, but because that's a separate one outside of it, and then it won't do anything password protected, so like it won't do our local internal sites, but it will go out to that one. But we'll add the PDF of that for it to search through. We also downloaded all of the questions we've gotten through Contact Us to kind of sort through some of those and see what are the most common ones and kind of build up an FAQ document to have up here too. That'll just have, you know, answers to specific questions.
What I do want to be careful of though is, because this is a closed system AI, meaning that we have to make sure the material is accurate and up to date. So, you know, we've had in some instances, pages in our website that reference people who don't work here anymore. So, number one, we have to make sure that there's a quick turnaround time if we're pointing this as a source of correct information, but also in determining what are the new resources we're going to make, because then that means we'd have to upkeep it. For example, part of the benefit of Neola is that they trigger and let us know things are changing. If we're going to feed it the PDFs, then that means somebody's got to put it on their task list that every time there's a policy change to download it and upload it. Or if there's a fact document, then if there's something that changes over here, that fact document then needs to be updated. So I would just kind of like make sure we can scale and take on those additional pieces, and it's a time saver as opposed to a time spender, because that's the whole point here. We want accuracy in information as well as to time saved for, like, you know, specifically guidance counselors or student services, these common questions that people are getting. But I am just blown away at what you guys have created. Is Final Site, so is...
Final Site is the platform that our websites are hosted on already. And
So
this
they
is
already
like an
offer
add-on
them.
package that they had was Ask AI. So we rolled it out on flaglerschools.com right now, and then eventually it will get rolled out. It's searching our other element, like our school sites too,
Yes.
but we'll have that pop up on the school sites as well.
Gorgeous.
Could you, instead of uploading a PDF, will it read a live document, like, for example, Google? So then that would be an opportunity for our policies. You know, we have them, you know, in a live document, so when they get updated.
And ideally, we'll get most of that information that's pertinent on the website anyways, so it's just, that'll come up there too. But no, we'll try to keep as much of it live as possible because we don't want them to be updating.
Have you found, did you do any prompts that may have returned inaccurate information yet? Have you seen that happen?
The only thing would be like a misname, so it would tell me to contact somebody and that person had left, but it was on our website, had that name, so then we knew to go in and correct that page and that type of thing. So we'll do a review of the website too, to have each one of the departments kind of go through their specific areas to just make sure our information's updated and current, like we do every so often.
What is, you know, when you have a use policy, you know, what are we saying in the use policy, that this is deemed credible or accurate but not guaranteed? I'm just saying, because if people are, my only concern is that if people are making actionable decisions based on what the findings back here, what are the consequences then at that point when they say, well, that's what the AI told me, you know, and that's my only concern, or to look at a safeguard for something like that.
The difference here, though, is this is not AI that's pulling from general data. This is pulling from our website. So if we have put it up in our website, and they could have gotten that information regardless of going through this AI bot, and then we would have been liable for not having that accurate information. So this is different from ChatGPT. This is our own closed system version.
And we can customize whatever we, like, you know, we can customize the question or the welcome text, but it is more off our
I
site.
think the nice part about this is every time you ask a question, it will reference the material where it found
Nice.
the
Yeah,
response.
I'm doing
Okay, I
that
like
now.
that.
It's like
So
refer to
you
this.
have access to those links, so specific, you know, board policy, if you start asking questions of board policy, it will reference the link where that is housed.
Okay.
And
So
they
there
get
is a
an-
source, not just an answer.
All of them.
Right,
That's
it's
all
the
source.
source, and they get an answer right
link
away,
to it.
because when they hit a contact us, I mean, that's hundreds if not thousands coming in, and there's a few people on the back end answering those, and they don't get an instant answer, and sometimes it's, you know, we'll get to it as quickly as we can, but there's only,
Right.
you know, a few people. So this, I think, will be, and if, you know, they wanna know at 10
Is
o'clock
it-
at night, they'll get an answer right away.
Is it, does it cost anything, or is it hard to do? Is there a reason why we haven't been using this? 'Cause this, I mean, I love it that we have it, but most websites have something like this, so is there
There
a
is
reason
an
we
additional
haven't?
cost for it.
Okay.
They just recently have released this feature to work on top of our final site.
Okay.
Where it is. So it's just kind of as things evolve and come about.
I think, though, that the people time in fielding these questions, as well as the possible retention of students because of parents getting correct answers is worth, you know, a particular level of investment here. But I think that to your point of our site needing to be updated and you're reaching out, is there a, like, for example, each department, do they is there an owner of each page in our site? And that when they want to submit changes, is there a ticket system, a form that they fill out? Is there a process? Because, you know, to
Both.
Mr. Furry's point, we now have double duty to ensure that this website is accurate.
Yeah, there's staff from each individual department that have access and can update, and we also have a form that you can submit from any one of those individual departments, and we'll help get those updated.
Amazing.
So it's a combination of both.
And so.
Same with schools, individual schools as well.
And how much more did this add to our package or hosting cost for this here, for this feature
It's like 6,000 or 7,000 was what it'll be for the year.
annually?
Which, I mean, when you consider, especially just the amount of time it takes a person to hire to answer the number of questions and things that are coming in through there.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely justify it, there's a matrix there, but, you know, I just look at, you know, we're paying 6,000, great, but then, you know, ChatGPT can be free, right? So I'm just saying, is there, what are the is this providing certain, we don't want obviously ChatGPT just to go out and look at the whole world, but I'm just saying, you know, when you get into enterprise, everybody wants to charge us a fortune, right? And then you go over here and you have, you know, you have these lower cost, you know, applications that do AI. So did we look at some other options outside of Frontline for this, as far as
There are other options. I mean, we've been working through this stuff for probably several months. And we have looked at kind of doing our own and developing them. The issue becomes is just the amount of time that it takes to kind of put into them. And in this kind of scenario, we wouldn't want to use like the free version of ChatGPT. We would definitely need to use the enterprise version, which does follow a cost model, and then essentially the amount of data that you put in and kind of house then dictates how much it costs, and then the number of quests or queries against it continues to instance. So it becomes kind of not only man-hour time, but also the licensing side.
I mean, I think at 6,000, it's not, you know, exorbitant in theory, right? And I guess this is one of those ones. It's a new technology. How many queries are we getting? How many people are using it to justify the spend? But just for comparison, because I know that like the ChatGPT model, it's if you go into the enterprise, isn't it like around like $500 in that range? Because I know I pay $25 for just the personal use. You know, and I'm only using ChatGPT as the example because that's kind of the most known. I know there's many other technologies out there, but oftentimes when it's just kind of built in, it's like when you buy a car. If you get the upgrade from the dealer, it's always costs so much more. You know, are we paying more because we bought it from the dealer, and that we could have got better or the same for, you know, less annually and get the same results? I would say look into that.
So the cheapest one that we've come across so far was about 4,500, and that being kind of set up as a framework to develop. So on top of that, you would still need to do some development to put that in place. I think the attractive piece of this is that it is directly integrated with the existing site that we have. I think in the course of probably the next year and a half, we'll probably be looking at what opportunities we have to, you know, look at the entire web footprint that we do have. We've been with Final Site now, I think it's coming up on 5 years. So we're right at that point of saying, okay, well, our site, our content, the rest of those. So that will become more and more important as part of those conversations that go, but just the ease of kind of managing this. So not only does it have it set up where we don't have a ton of overhead to put into this, but the maintenance side of it, even because it's already tied to the website, as soon as we know we have those pages updated, we know that we're going to be able to go through the site, and those pages are updated real-time access. So kind of what you're talking about with, you know, scraping sites and those things, because that's typically what you would see done. And then you don't always have control of what sites they're scraping. So what's neat about this piece, at least in my opinion, is we're able to build out individual sites and links that we deem valuable and put them into it as additional data and reference. So
and our school
those are the
sites,
things that I see advantage.
Are they the school sites all linked into this as well? So to all of our, this is not just for our district sites. This will branch out to all of our schools websites?
Eventually, but you have it set up right now with the district site, right?
Web instances that we have. It would be all of our schools, our iFlagler, the district site, as well as our Flagler Technical College.
And is there instances where this could cost more if you have more queries, or if you use
no? That price is actually the blanket to cover for all of our sites.
Okay,
so right now, as we got going with this, that is not what we're paying. That would be full blown across the entire district. Right now, we've got it really just tied to flaglerschools.com with the intention of doing similar to what we've done with the district page, which start making them available on the back end, so that some of those folks like Flagler Palm Coast High School, when we get to that point, we'll bring that site up. On the back end, it won't be forward facing, and allow those teams to start asking questions that are pertinent that they believe would be needed from their side. So that potentially then gives them the opportunity to dig through those, and if there is, identify information that maybe needs to be updated.
And this site's very parent-friendly and user-friendly for the public, which is why we kind of went that route. We do also have Flip, which is Notebook LM, which is part of our Gemini AI package that we use in the district. And what this allows us to do is we can load up specific documents, and it almost is a research tool through it. So this we've put together and we've shared with other people in the district, but it has our digital learning handbook, the code of conduct, it has school board policy, professional standards handbook, any of those official documents and the website, and you can go in here and ask a specific question. It's going to find the answer for you, cite where it is in all of those documents for you.
So that's our internal version.
This is more of an internal version, but if you look, like, this isn't very user-friendly.
No, and you can train each one of those notebooks specifically to a topic. So, what I see here is that, ChatGPT is a generic, but they're in business for themselves in order to expand that and have their add-ons. their business model isn't to create something that you integrate into your own software, website, whatever. What I'm seeing here in terms of just the couple of back-end pieces from Final Site is it is blending our site data with the queries and activity that's happening from the AI, of which we would have to develop our own software to track that, or additional software. And additionally, it is embedding nicely and behaving nicely with our website itself. Again, with no upfront cost or another third party or things of that nature. And you know, we did approve a student services whole entire position at $70,000 a year, which a lot of the questions that people are going to put in here regarding school choice, high school requirements, things of that nature, that one individual can now focus more on the escalated cases rather than the broad outreach of just general information knowledge. And that way we'll get a better return on our investment for that particular position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure through efficiency, we could clearly justify it. I mean, I just wanted to get some understanding and perspective, so.
Good questions.
And you did a great job of doing that, thank you.
I think families are going to love this, so, thanks.
I know a lot of us that are using this document too internally, it's helped a lot coming up with those answers instead of flipping through all, multiple pages to find things.
And the notebook LM piece that we just kind of wanted to highlight was, I think Ms. Ruddy talked about this a little bit when you requested bring some of this info forward for discussion. Really, when you can set the source data and reference it, like when you do a query here, it will give you direct links into those documents so that you can go back and read the highlighted paragraphs that it references. So, just been a huge thing, just background knowledge on this. We were using this as part of the Neola process. So working with Marcus to kind of peel all of these out, looking at our current board policy with the proposed Neola, and then going through and asking questions of this was just really great because it gave you direct feedback looking at those too. So it made it a lot easier. I think when you talk to Neola, us being able to do a lot of this within 6 months is pretty unheard of.
Yes.
Very aggressive.
We went at the speed of AI.
I should have done that.
So we did leverage several pieces to kind of help.
And this is available for
Most
teachers
things
and
we're doing
students
is
as
pretty
well.
aggressive right
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this platform,
Imagine
Notebook
the
LM, is available for teachers and students, so they can
compare
use
this
it
to
to help
back
them
in the
study.
day
It can make
when all the teacher
podcasts
had
for
to do
them,
is
or
start the
videos,
fire
or
and then
flashcards. It's got a lot of
Well,
capabilities
the
of
biggest
it.
part is to have the guardrails, that this thing is, it stays in, siloed into the data we want it
Right.
to source, so.
100% control.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Love it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey.
Last and final topic.
All right. We have
that was
10.01 legislative platform, and we have Mr. John Sarah. Welcome. Thank you for your patience.
He works in Tallahassee. He's used to waiting.
This was
Yeah.
enjoyable to be patient, to learn and to see y'all work is wonderful. Thank you all for inviting me and having Bob online as we present today. Obviously, we hope to fulfill and finalize the platform that we've been working on for the past several months. In successfully completing the platform, the work will allow us to provide statewide, agree to our own local platform, and then provide some information to our statewide partners, adding an FSBA platform so we can have this information for their deadline to participate with Flagler County's joint platform as well. And that we were finally included last year because we were able to get our information ahead of schedule. Remember that interim committee week start October the 6th and will run through January 1st ultimately. And then the start of session is January 13th. And then 60 days of session starting January 13th. Before you guys is the document that Bob and the superintendent has prepared for you. The first proposal comes from Sarah Consulting Group with a long discussion with the cabinet, the superintendent, for over a month or so, and including comments from individual board members who have had time to work with Bob and myself on creating issues and working forward towards the platform. In addition, there was a workshop 2 weeks ago where we were able to discuss some of these issues in the open forum. And then the second proposal came from Ms. Ruddy, and we appreciate the work that she has done with discussions from the community and working with Rome Priorities to discuss these issues with us so we can try to prepare and provide a platform issue. If there are consensus around the issues or anything other added to the platform, it will become part of the platform as the priority document considered for our adoption later. If there's no consensus, it could be brought up to the next meeting. We can bring a motion up for the next meeting. Obviously, we will work to forge your platform at every opportunity that we can, and the sooner that we are able to put this document together, we are able to utilize this both in the community and in Tallahassee as soon as possible. Our advice is that the local priority platform only have about 1 to 3 issues. Our advice also is that the platform is composed of critical issues that apply to Flagler schools, much more than the average district in the state. We encourage you to place statewide issues in the state. We encourage you to adopt the statewide issues and send them to our local partners and other organizations. In the discussion draft, the top priority is the rural renaissance that we've discussed all of last year, being passed and funded this session. In addition to bringing significant recurring revenues to the district, the proposal will allow to strengthen and renew the regional educational consortium organizations, which include the Northeast Florida Educational Consortium. Within the proposal, there are significant opportunities to improve teacher recruitment efforts, career and technical education, all students acceleration programs, and improve student performance in statewide exams and graduation. Increase student service programs, including student mental health services and guidance. These are some of the items that are supported within the Rural Renaissance, and we hope the passage of that program next year will be able to bring a lot of opportunities to the district and other districts across the state. The second priority will help retain significant $1.5 million funding for the district, as all students served by the district would get a share of that funding, and not just K-12 students, as all students need the facilities. This will preserve a meaningful portion of our local funds and the district's overall improvement for the 5-year capital plan in future years. If there is any discussion on local priorities, please, if there's any discussion or information. And I know I sort of rolled through that. If we want to start with the first local priority.
Okay, so we have in board docs a list of the priorities and what we reviewed last meeting. We also have another proposal attached submitted by Ms. Ruddy as well, which is an additional special project. So we need to evaluate these here and see if there's what the consensus is to move forward with these items.
I'd definitely like to try for the rural renaissance again.
I didn't hear it, sorry.
I'd like to go for the rural renaissance again.
Is there I think that's an important piece that we talked about it earlier because I think it does a lot for the district just overall. Is there a champion this year again? Do we know that yet?
We do not know if they will continue to have the same sponsors as last year. We would hope that they would continue with the same sponsorship, but at this stage, we do not know that.
Okay, I didn't know if that had already been established yet, been discussed. I mean, it was kind of early, but I'm just curious if they were having the same ones or not. Okay.
In years past, it would continue with the same folks, but at this stage, we have not seen those bills filed.
Okay.
And have we spoken with Senator Leak and Rep Greco regarding these priorities?
Not as of yet. We have not discussed with either the senator or the representative until we've had a workshop, or until we've actually had this priorities voted on by the board and fulfilled, so that we would work on the platform with those folks as well as other folks in the community and in the state.
Does there seem to be some support in the legislature for this?
For continuation of the Renaissance program, yes. I mean, unfortunately, at the end of session, as you well know, we met a wall and had to go into a special session and extend time. In doing so, some of the priorities that the other leaders pushed forward created a delay in this program. And increasing spending for the state was one of those things that created a delay for this during special session. But as things start to level out, we will be able to begin to create that new momentum.
I will say, Mr. Chairman, I spoke last week with Representative Greco on this particular issue, because me as an individual board member wanting to make sure if this goes forward to get the support from him. So of course he is aware of it, but you know, we just need to make sure that I have not spoken to Senator Lee as of yet, but I'm sure it's on the radar screen. But I do know that Representative Greco is yes.
Okay.
And this was a main priority of the Senate President of last year, and unfortunately, it was not fulfilled during the 25 session, and hopefully as we move forward during the 26th session, the Senate will be able to work to fulfill their priorities.
Are there other school districts that are also, who would have benefited from Rural Renaissance, also putting this on their local priorities?
At this stage, I do not know specifically of those, but yes, there are 40-plus districts that would benefit from this in one shape or another, and several of our small districts are utilizing this as a way to uplift their district and create an opportunity in their rural areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I spoke with your brother on this on several occasions, you know, he identified that he feels that the package is going to be relatively the same, but you know, we are gambling a little bit because it's not really defined. In terms of the initial proposal, when they first brought up the Rural Renaissance, was that it would preclude Flagler from some of those funds because they wanted to make it more population-based. The latter version did not, so that made me more comfortable, but I also don't know how much it might change going into the new session, and I don't know how that works, to be quite honest. So let's say that they pick up this initiative from last year and all the documentation that's already around it, and they want to pick up the ball to take it to the next down the field more, right? Do they usually kind of start from scratch and say, well, let's open this up, or do they say, no, let's pick up from where we left off?
Yes, normally I would say they will start at a ending point where we were at the stage that it fell off the cliff, for lack of a better word, at the end of the legislative session or during special session. And I have to imagine, because I was not in these rooms, but a lot of these issues were negotiated and they got to an ending point, and unfortunately it was not part of the ending package or the full package that was provided to the House and Senate last year. The fact of the matter is that this does provide us an opportunity to build capacity with our members, build capacity with our friends in other districts, learn what's going on with their rural initiatives, and also be able to, once again, like you stated, we were not a part of this from day one, but with the work that Bob and I and others have done, we have made sure that Flagler would be a part of this rural initiative as it was stated last year. And it will be our goal to maintain where we were at the within that package as it was proposed last year.
I would just say this, Pete, just to maybe give you a little bit of maybe calm. How about that? Would be, it doesn't matter what you put forward, you're taking a gamble.
Right.
So it really, it doesn't really, you could put something else in there, they may not ever pick it up.
But
so.
it's not like this is not an application that we just own, like maybe
Oh, yeah, I
from
get
some of
that.
our other
I
local
understand.
parks.
I understand.
You know, so I agree with it. I think it would be beneficial. I'm just wondering, like, we also don't want to be the only district going forward.
Correct.
This is going to benefit others. I would like to see basically everybody who's going to benefit from this put on their local priority. I think the other thing that's kind of a conundrum for me is that they've said that whatever you put forth, you need to also fulfill 50% of the funding. But this is different. This is unique, essentially. We're saying, hey, you know what, this is so important from us. We're going to put aside another ask and just say, if you would just move this across the finish line, that this is what we would also like to, again, words are hard, promote.
Yes, ma'am. And the truth is that it would provide us with opportunities that we do not have. And I hate to say it this way, but if we were able to work, if there was transportation in this funding, in this program, it would help us on issues that we're already dealing with transportation. And I don't know specifically what those will be, but at the end of the day, the idea is for the small and rural to give them the ability to make other decisions and provide some opportunities that you just do not have right now. And to work with other, yes, if we had our own funding request, we would have to, if we requested $1 million, we would have to have $500,000 in a bank account to show our willingness to support and invest in that same proposition. This program, because it came out of the Senate and came out of the leadership from the Senate, is just a little bit different. And because those group of leadership has proposed this, we believe that they're super smart and would provide us with some opportunities. And so we would like to support them, especially since it was their idea. And we believe now that with some help and support and some hand-holding together with other districts, we can get this past the finish line this year.
Okay, great. So I think some of what we need to decide, because you said you say 1 to 3 local priorities, you're trying to keep it very niche, right? You guys had recommended 2, this one and then the, regarding the capital outlay funds.
Correct.
Right? And so was it your position that you were going with 2 because you're thinking this first one is so large, we're doubling down on that?
The truth is, within this, I mean, we could have 1 to 3, and sometimes, and we have not done this, but we could have 0 priorities relative to a platform. What the platform provides us an opportunity to do is speak on your behalf, speak with a unified voice, because the board and district has decided to move forward on this, and it gives us an opportunity to work with both staff and our legislators to push this
Right.
program. So really, at the end of the day, it really gives us a framework where we're able to work and provide opportunity and consistency with the folks that we work with.
Yeah. And so, you know, when
So I don't mean to
Sorry.
interrupt you.
No,
I'm a little
please.
bit different than my brother, and sometimes I feel less is more than more is
Okay.
less. So
Sure. I can understand that, especially if there's like a big ask somewhere in there. And so I think I just wanted to explain why I put something to also consider, is that in discussions with Ms. Moore, this legislative platform is our platform. And so in our last workshop, you know, I was hoping that we would be brainstorming and bringing forth a bunch of different ideas that we all want to see growth in from this county, right? And so after we had some of that discussion and brought forward some of those ideas, there was, you know, something that I felt passionate about in terms of, well, you know, what could we also possibly use that third spot for if in these local priorities, and met the criteria of it needs to affect us specifically, and we need to be able to fund it at 50%. And I know Mr. Bars has been very involved with FTC, but and we've seen time and again the impact of the regionalization on of the career source program on their funding, and how that funding of them servicing any of our high school students for pre-apprenticeship programs in a district where our unemployment rate is higher than the state average, those types of programs are what is under our governor's goal to be the #1, right, in career and technical education by 2030. But yet our particular, because we're this middle-size teen where we need still need some support, right? That program needs to be jolted into the 21st century, and being able to better equip the needs of our employers in the area as well. We have a lot of unfilled skilled job openings that are not getting filled because we don't have the community members who have the skills or certifications necessary to fill them. And so, that was the only reason, not to tread on what the folks who do this every day know what to do, how to do it. And, obviously, I just felt maybe there was space because of those changes that had directly impacted Flagler specifically, and that regionalization for our technical education.
Where is, so in that, we can talk about that third one, or we need to?
Well, what I think we need to do is we do need to talk about it a little bit. We have to decide if whether or not we want to bring that in. But one point that at least from what I did, and Ms. Ruddy, I see you did a lot of work on this, so thank you for doing that. And career and technical education is definitely an area we want to invest in. My only concern on this proposal is exactly what you just mentioned, that we would have to fund half of those dollars in this special project, where the Rural Renaissance, if we're successful, will get us between 1.5 to 2.5 million without a match, and actually can address a lot of the items that are listed in your proposal here. So it's a matter of how much effort we're going to divide our lobbying effort on, and also, do we have the resources to commit half of this project if it gets approved? So.
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, with the Rural Renaissance, right? What is that? $2 million. That's going to go fast. We probably have a long list. There are transportation items. There are other items that we've discussed. So maybe it could go into that bucket. Maybe it can go into that bucket. So that's where I thought it was probably important to separate that out for FTC, because also whatever investment we do in FTC doesn't just impact our K-12 students, but also is the beneficiary of the community and other adults who might take those programs, right? And so that's where I felt that it was maybe pertinent to say, you know what, this money, this ask is to support FTC, which, yes, will support our students, but also the community at large, and that the Rural Renaissance money is spent specifically that impacts our students only. But in terms of the match and the funding, already the FTC brings in funding from Perkins and WIOA, and also charges tuition. So what that proposal includes is essentially an initial infusion in order to attack what is a problem for Miss Kirkland, is that they don't have the people who are, if you're an electrician, you're pulling in 6 figures, you're not going over there for $20 an hour to teach a class. So we need to change the model where we are providing the theory component online by adopting career and technical curriculum. It put into an online learning management system supported by instructional designers, but then we can pay more per hour for those particular skilled tradespeople in the actual lab hours, essentially divide up their time. That way they're still spending the time in the skill that they love, without spending that time in that content. And I've seen this model successful with the Alabama Community College System. They received statewide funding for their program to turn electrician, HVAC, heavy equipment operator, all of the theory-based content into interactive activities on a learning management system that they needed to blend in with the hands-on lab component. And there were their organizations of skilled people who essentially vetted the curriculum, right? And that it's accurate, up to date, and things of that nature. And then focused that live time in that hands-on, reducing necessarily the instructional component for these skilled tradespeople, but they're spending that time teaching them and showing them the actual lab. And that would mean also expanding some of the lab equipment and materials. So after we get the influx for the transition of the curriculum and that lab, yes, then it's running like before, where we're contributing for our students who are dual enrolled in the FTC. They're receiving Perkins, and we what they don't have is the money to transform that program at this point.
So with that,
let me just add just one piece of clarification for that, because the instructors, unless they are, even if they are as needed instructors, if they are full-time instructors there, those individuals are in the bargaining unit, and we would have to make sure that we are going through the bargaining process related to their salary.
That's the long-term
yes,
vision.
I'm just putting that
That's
out
not
there,
right
so
now.
I don't want
Anybody
to hear and
right.
think, well, we're arbitrarily saying that we're going to make changes to their salary,
Not
because that's all.
right.
Yes.
So we're talking about, say, our EMT program, our program. So we have, you're talking about they would have to go in the bargaining unit?
No, I'm talking to the comment about being able to pay those individuals differently based on them coming in with the skill and experience. Those ones that are full-time are in the bargaining unit. Anybody that's in the bargaining unit, that's something that we have to go through the bargaining process with. So what I'm hearing Ms. Ruddy say is that the investment is really in order to support the transferring or turning that some of those programs into more of a blended model of some of the learning will be done on a learning management system that would have to be purchased, adopted, unless they're going through what we already have. And then some of that will be lab time, where the individual that's coming in is going to be spending time teaching the skill that they are very passionate about, the hands-on pieces of it, instead of some of the things that are required for the
Right now,
the
everything
theory.
is live, and some of the pain points I've heard from Ms. Kirkland is, well, they can get some instructors for the fall, but then they might go away for the winter because they're technically retired professionals and they're visiting their family. Well, if we can change it to where, okay, let's make the hands-on component for when that instructor's available, and then when they're not, they're doing the theory content in the LMS.
But I like, I was gonna say the LMS programs, though, those are very expensive, so I feel like.
We already have one.
We have one that.
Well, we
is just
run
not-
through Flagler,
Well,
which LMS, and then Schoology is technically an LMS as well.
yeah, so we run Schoology. We also, our Flagler is Florida Virtual School.
Well, Florida Virtual School is the curriculum, but the platform they use is that D2L or Canvas?
No, it's not Canvas. It's the one through Florida Virtual School. The whole package is through them. I'll have to.
Okay.
But it's all
So
through
we
Florida
only
Virtual
pay,
School.
we pay one amount, right, yeah.
Yes, it's
And that's
all through
part
the
of
Florida Virtual School platform.
Right, and that's part of that infusion is to be able to get something like that set up, and then essentially, you know, that the tuition rates to be able to sustain it over time. But more and more programs are going that way. And it's to help us keep up to date, because we're not going to be able to grow those programs the way they want us to with the current funding that we have, if you've taken a look at what they provided us.
I'm concerned about, potentially, long-term losing some of those programs because other institutions will pay the instructors more to come in than what we're paying them. But with that being said, there are some, I like the idea. I really, really do like the idea. And I want to think here real quickly about how do we get the match piece of this? Because I know that Ms. Kirkland has been working on a couple of different grant opportunities, one from the driver training school potential through the feds, and then there's another one that she mentioned she was bringing. If we can be successful in those two grant opportunities, will that count towards this potential 50% or half or whatever, or are we just, I know we're rolling dice here, but.
I don't want to speak and say that I know how the state will react to utilizing federal money to cover state money, or how.
We're bringing this in to help us get to this 50%. We want this money to do this, but we also think that we can bring additional money in to help support.
Maybe I'll say it this way. How we get the match in the bank to provide that is up to the board and the district. And so if it came through federal money, or if it came through local state taxes, if it came through donations.
Doesn't seem like it matters much.
No,
Yeah,
sir.
so in the application, it does define federal, local, like where you're getting the monies. And I kind of like pulled in what they've received through like WIOA and what we think, obviously I want Ms. Kirkland to finalize that. But I also evaluated it against other applications from previous years that did win, and they did have fields filled in for federal dollars and stuff. Because otherwise, where do educational institutions get the money?
Up until last year, there was not the state was not asking folks who were requesting allocations or appropriations
so you're saying they just voluntarily put that in?
This started about last year, both to create accountability on both the ask and fulfilling the desire. If you really wanted a building, that the building, you really wanted it, so we tried to raise money locally and then also got money from the state, because the state realized that we could not build a building without their help, but wanted to see that we had local buy-in and then provide it. But that started last year, and that's why, unfortunately, with our meeting with Representative Greco and Senator Leak at the town hall meeting last year, they expressed at that point that they had received that information and would not move forward with any other appropriations unless there was a match.
I mean, I think it's smart. It's a way to filter so that people, that the requests coming in are those serious ones. I don't know about 50% for, some of the different organizations, depending. But, I do understand the need for that.
And just as a historical understanding, years ago, we did the academies, and we were able to get $250,000 for the district. The first year that we decided to work on that, we actually put it on hold because it wasn't ready for prime time at that point. Even though the information was provided, our members were we had discussions with our members at the time, and they believed in the project. Unfortunately, we weren't ready with all of our dots and our T's, our I's and our T's, and so ultimately we took 6 months off, got our information put together, and then redid it, and it passed the next year with flying colors, partially because we were able to do some of the legwork before the ask, and then when the ask was put in, all the information was already provided, and everybody was happy and understood that this was a large need for the district.
Yeah, and then with this being said, I think we need to see if she can give us a dollar amount for what these grants particular that she's applying for, and would they go into in this federal match piece? I don't know that it will, but we need to find that out.
Now the difference is, I know we want to get things in the document and into the county document, but ultimately, if this is something that the board would like to pause on, and next month, if this was something that became an issue that we were able to come to consensus on, it does not have to be added to that book. It still can be a part of our platform and priorities, and those are things that we will share with our delegation and other members.
Well, we have it on action for tonight, So we'd have to change that for tonight if we wanted.
Well, I'm saying, I'm sorry, we could pass this and have this prepared to go into the county document. We can get the other issues agreed upon so we could share with other organizations that we work with. And if there are other issues that come up, we might have an issue in November that we do not know exists today. If that happens, the board would take action the same way.
Sure.
So just because we know about this issue doesn't mean that it cannot come back up in November or December. The biggest issue about the appropriation is that we are behind timelines as well, that the state puts us to have that application in. And I believe that's November.
So you have time between now and November to get to some of this information. It just, I 100% want to applaud you, Mrs. Ruddy, for doing this and listening, and it goes in line with the comments and listening to the staff there that I think we've all heard. So, but I do think we're going to have to find some of that federal piece if we even got a chance for it, that's all. If we're going to have to maybe not agree to that tonight and get the additional information, but I do think that this is something that
And I'm
brings
thinking,
value.
too, so, you know, you said it, we're in it to win it, right? And so I think last year, you know, when we all went, we worked really hard and I felt really good about it, but what can we do differently if, you know, if we're going for the same thing and then maybe potentially adding on something additional, we need to get our community more involved of, you know, writing to them like, hey, this is why we need this, X, Y, Z, for whatever we decide. But I'm wondering too, do you feel that this would be enough funding to support this project? I love the project, but I'm wondering potentially.
Yeah, it would have to probably, yes.
Like, that's
I
my
do.
fear
It's
with
$2 million.
that, but-
I think the request was like $2 million.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do think that if it were, the number of programs that are currently served, like for example, you wouldn't necessarily put every program in this, right? Like, so you'd probably kickstart it, but I think that there's enough there with 500,000, you can get probably 4 sets of curriculum into an LMS, right? So then essentially the rest of it was going to upgrading some of the lab supplies and, you know, being able to, which that's not within my scope of expertise, so I just kind of like went and referenced, you know, some earmarks and some conversation, looking at what her current budget is, which I think last year it was like $1 million total is what they got. So she's running 10 certification programs with $1 million, so you can imagine what $2 million would do for her.
So if I hearing consensus that we move forward with the platform that we have here and then get more data on Ms. Ruddy's proposal to see if it's feasible through federal funding or
The amount of money from.
and then we can
those
add that in
potential
add that in later by the November meeting. Is that right?
And remembering tonight when you, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Delaney, what we have here for the draft and all of this is what's considered for tonight. And then tonight, you would make a motion around what parts are included and what is not. So we're gonna, unless there's something you want us to add between now and then, this is the information that is on for tonight, and you will consider that in the motion into these different separate. So we have those two for the local priorities. We have the things that we're going to send as our state priorities, and then you are considering if you will also include this additional funding request that Ms. Ruddy is proposing.
We just make a motion of how we want to proceed with that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so are we, as far as all the list of items here for our state priorities or state issues, are we, because the document here as a whole it's all encompassing. Is everybody in consensus on that, or is there items we would want to remove, or?
Was the wording updated? I don't have the document from last time. From the wording, Ms. Ruddy, remember you were asking about the wording for one of them, just
for
the way,
number 2.
Yeah,
Number 2.
that's what I was wondering if that was updated, because that was just the,
Yeah, I think that Miss Ruddy and Mr. Bobsera talked about the language that is here, and that it covers not adding capacity, but acknowledging the students toward the capital outlay.
So what I was getting at is tonight, when we're voting, we're either going to vote for this as a whole document or individual items. If there's anything that is of concern with any of the priorities, we should talk about them now. Otherwise, we can just adopt them all into the, as a single document, yeah.
And then the local priorities will be sent to the local document, and then the other statewide issues will be sent to our community card.
Well, that's my understanding, is the statewide issues would, the onus on that would be with Lauren and Ms. Chong in order to submit as the
Correct.
legislative liaisons.
Correct.
Yes. Yes. We will be submitting that to their platform for consideration.
And I personally am excited to see some of the changes, like the request to help us with the disproportionate payment for teachers on the salary scale, as well as the Safe Schools allocation to try to state, hey, if we got to pay for our school protection through that Safe Schools allocation, we cannot pay those collaborative partners in excess with the increases that we receive from that Safe Schools allocation. So I think those things are in our best interest and can only be championed at the state level.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there has been times when it's extraordinary. There's been issues that have been extraordinary where we would put that as one of our local priorities as well as the statewide, but you're exactly right, because they cross over so far that it would be best to utilize our friends in other places.
Right, because it would require statute changes in some cases, or at least an exclusion.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm touching on.
I really appreciate the time that y'all take listening to us, and Bob for the hours on the phone, and really appreciate it very much for trying to walk through this and understanding and helping us. So thank you. I think you're online still.
Yep. And Ms. Ruddy, that I do appreciate what you did, because it's true. We want our students to stay in this community and work, but we need the resources to provide the tools, and otherwise it can't happen. So.
Yes, thanks, Ms. Ruddy, appreciate it.
Sure.
The effort. And that moves us on now to public comment. Thank you, Mrs. Sarah.
She said no.
No comment? Okay,
Thanks,
so
Bob.
we'll move that. See you, Bob. Board member requests?
I have one,
Okay.
if it's no one else to my right does. So I've talked about this before, and just want to make this as a topic as moving forward, is basically on energy savings for all of our schools, and looking at ways that Flagler schools can be I would use the word Energy Star program that was started in the 90s, for us to look at how we can conserve energy more efficiently, and then maybe have some way of working with Florida Power and Light, and working with Mr. Bush and his team. There are other districts across the state that are doing programs like this, that I would like to see how we can be more efficient, turning lights off when we need to. I mean, just small things to make large impacts on being able to save in this particular part of our budgets, and then we can hopefully start redistributing those funds to where they need to go to in the classroom and so forth. So I would like for you all to take a look at this, start beginning that research. I've already provided you with some information, some stuff that I've done over the last few days, and how we can look at moving forward in those cost savings.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mars. If there are any more requests, we'll move on to closing comments. Any closing comments from the board?
Nope,
Okay.
I'll save it for tonight.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.